Hey guys, Rorius here. I finally used the stream starting stay tuned screen again. I keep not using it. I keep forgetting. Oh, I should do this. Yeah. Also, yes, for the previous stream, when Tiana was joining me, in the live stream.
Welcome to the family.
Oh my god. 32 months, holy crap. Well, thank you for renewing your membership again. Um, yeah, the previous stream where Tiana joined me, I added some new emojis of Tiana in the on the Rorius Discord. Just he's still disappointed in us. Yeah. Yeah, no, the Discord is pretty quiet. I understand that. It's because I primarily use it for, alerting people about stuff. So I can understand if people aren't super motivated to, you know, keep it like live and stuff like that. Thank you, Joan, for renewing your membership. So no Joan emoji. Time to riot. Launch the cannons. I just I just added it because I was like, oh, I mentioned Tiana in the thing, and so I was like, oh, I want to make a little Tiana emoji. I can put some emojis of other people on there too. I'll put a Cortex emoji on there for you. I'll do that. How about that? Yeah. Excellent. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, of course, of course. Yeah. Yeah. All right. Well, so apparently last time we got up to this video here, we ended with
Welcome to the
Nathan's auto
family.
portal thing. There it is. It took a while for that one to pop up, but there it is. All right. Yes. Motherboard infected with a virus, but how?
I
Ooh.
talk about malware, security vulnerabilities, and
How
how
does
to
a
mitigate them a
motherboard get
lot on
infected?
here. And you know, most of the time, the mitigation techniques are pretty straightforward. They mostly boil down to not downloading dumb
Linking
stuff,
Park
not
Num.
clicking on sussy links and sussy emails, and
Oh,
keeping
back
your
in the
system up to
LimeWire
date.
days.
But what do we do when the malware is in the motherboard? Well, that's what we're looking at today. Cosmic Strand, a UEFI firmware rootkit that was
Damn.
installed on several gigabytes in ASUS motherboards, primarily in Asia. Now, although this
Okay,
isn't an
yeah.
extremely
You can either
widespread
post it or
malware
you can just
infection
add
that's
it straight up
compromising millions of
to the
devices
Discord
all
if you
over the
want.
world, the fact that the malware resides in a firmware image on the motherboard makes it incredibly dangerous because firmware is one of the lowest levels of computing. In
Yeah,
fact,
you can
the
just,
only
if you want to,
way
you can
that
just
you can
post it
really have a
to
more
like the
deeply
emoji
embedded
discussion or
malware
just
would be
DM
to
me it
compromise the
and I'll
hardware
add it.
directly by
Or you can add it
adding a
yourself if you
malicious
wish.
microchip to the board itself. This is easier to
I think
understand
you
if
can
we
add
look at a
emojis.
protection ring
Yeah, any
diagram.
advisor
So
can.
as you can see, firmware is typically running at ring 0. So
Okay.
it has the most privileges
Wonderful.
short
Yeah.
of physical computer chips or things like the Intel management engine. But firmware outranks every other level.
Yeah.
And so if you change things at these higher levels, like your kernel, your drivers, and things like that, those changes probably are not going to fix a low level compromise like this. Hell, you could reinstall
Yeah.
your entire operating system until the cows come home. You could even install your operating system onto a brand new solid state drive, but you'll still be running infected firmware on your motherboard under the hood. An
Yeah, that's
antivirus can't
scary.
help you either because this malware is loading long before any antivirus program is going to be able to load. Even if you're using one of the more advanced and more expensive anti-malware programs that hook into your kernel, it probably won't be able to touch something like this. So UEFI malware, it's pretty serious, but it doesn't allow you to do a whole lot to the victim's machine
Right.
without pivoting into the kernel space or the operating system. The worst thing that you probably could do just by compromising UEFI is to corrupt the firmware of the motherboard, and well, that would brick the user's computer. Which, don't get
Right.
me wrong,
Yeah.
that's a pretty big annoyance to deal with. It's also going to cost you hundreds of dollars in damages, but UEFI doesn't contain a whole lot of sensitive information. So, as far as things like getting your password stolen, ransomware being installed, any of those more profitable type of malicious attacks from UEFI without pivoting to a higher protection ring, that's not going to happen, because by the time your kernel starts loading, the UEFI execution would have been terminated. So, of
Means
course,
you
when
gotta
I
pay to
talk
win
about
for
pivoting
emojis.
to a higher protection ring into the kernel and into the operating system, that is exactly what this malware does. And it does so in a pretty sophisticated way, too. So, first, it modifies the pointer to the handle protocol boot service function so that every time that handle protocol function is called, the execution is redirected to attacker supplied code. This attacker supplied code is then waiting for a specific point in the boot process where the boot manager is loaded into memory but is not actually running yet, which allows the Cosmic Strand malware to modify the function of Arch PX64 transfer to 64-bit application ASM. This now modified function with that really long name is also called at a specific time when the Windows OS loader is loaded into memory but not running yet, which allows Cosmic Strand to modify that as well. From here, the malware is modifying a function from OS Loader called OSL Arch Transfer to Kernel. This function is a common target for rootkits because it's called just before execution is transferred from the Windows loader to the Windows kernel. So from here, another hook is set up into the ZW create section, which this time copies malicious code into ntoSKRNL.exe, which is the Windows kernel image. Now, Windows does have this safety feature built into it to try to prevent this modification called kernel patch protection. But the malware is able to get around this by just modifying that protection function so that it runs, but it doesn't return anything, or at least it doesn't return any red flags or that any issues are happening. So far, Cosmic Strand has managed to pivot its way all the way up from UEFI into the Windows kernel. And at this point, it waits for the user to log in. Then Cosmic Strand waits for about 10 minutes to, I guess, give everything else enough time to load up, and then maybe let the user get distracted with browsing cat videos on the internet or something like that.
Chunky.
But at that point, after sleeping for a bit, the Cosmic Strand uses the transport device interface to check if it's able to reach the internet. And if it can, it then reaches out to retrieve its final payload by sending a specifically crafted UDP packet to its command and control server, which responds by sending several packets containing chunks of 528 bytes. And each of those chunks then gets reassembled into the actual payload and mapped into kernel space. And of course, receiving all of those chunks and then reassembling them is done to obfuscate the shellcode that's being downloaded. So the end result is a full compromise of the system and its kernel. The attacker can create users. In fact, that's one of the ways that you can identify if you've been compromised by this. Is it creates these users called AAAABBBB. And if they're able to create users, then it's also safe to say that they could do things like lock your PC, steal your data. They can do anything that they want to it.
Yeah, yeah.
And the issue cannot be
Pretty scary shit.
remediated by simply reinstalling the operating system. Or even
No.
if you
Because, yeah, once again, the normal fix for like super ingrained viral infection is to just wipe everything. You just like do a brand new clean install of Windows or whatever like that. Um, or even like if it's slightly deeper, maybe new BIOS and stuff like that. But no, this is deeper than that. This is in the fucking firmware. So you can do a complete scrub of your system and get it all set up again and still be infected. Get reinfected. Everything that you just scrubbed gets all reinfected as soon as you boot it up. That's really scary.
Change the physical hard drive. That's not going to fix it because the pivot sequence
Yeah,
from UEFI
or get all like new parts except for the motherboard, I guess. And it would still have the same issue.
into the Windows kernel happens every time the system boots.
Yeah.
So let's talk about what we actually can do to fix a problem like this, because this is some really,
you see,
really
I've got around to
persistent
a certain
malware.
thing. Yeah.
Now, first off,
I wonder what that certain thing could be. I see people. I've noticed that people do check my activity on Steam. What did I get around to doing, eh?
it's worth noting that nobody knows for sure how
I do
the
like the sus
modified UEFI images are actually getting onto
Yeah,
people's
yeah, yeah.
motherboards.
It's
in
the way that
first
Steam
place.
works.
But
It's not really.
given the fact
I guess yes. It's not so much that people check mine; it's that people check the activity feed, and it shows my activity on there. It's not really. Yeah.
that, well, this is a firmware exploit, and that it's only affecting a small number of H81 chipset motherboards. It's believed that an evil maid attack is the initial attack vector, which basically means
What do you mean?
that someone between the manufacturer and the
Let's
end
just say
user is
if you keep an eye on
modifying the
Steam's
firmware
activity
on those
feed,
motherboards.
you'll
It
see
could
the
be
latest
someone in
things
a
I've earned
warehouse,
achievements
it could
for.
be a third-party reseller. It
And
could
you'll
be
see
a
what I've been
company
playing
that
recently.
is assembling PCs for people. That would be my guess, since
Or you
a
check the
company like
specific
that
game,
would
I
be
suppose, yeah.
breaking the factory seals. I mean, they're going to be opening up the motherboards that come from the
Shrinking my
manufacturers. They're
webcam
going to actually
stream.
be handling the
Slowly.
motherboard during the assembly process. And they're probably going to be modifying the BIOS image by updating it to the latest version and or modifying the splash screen so that they can add their own branding to it. But I haven't been able to find enough information about the victims of this particular malware to say for sure if all of the boards came from a particular PC assembler or one particular warehouse or anything like that. But regardless of the board's source, the way to mitigate a threat like this is to simply lower the amount of trust that you put in your motherboard, especially when it isn't coming to you in a factory sealed box from the manufacturer. It's time to start treating used motherboards or motherboards in pre-built PCs like we treat our used phones or used computers. And by that, I mean resetting
yeah.
them. I at least hope that if you guys are getting used phones or used computers, you're resetting them, because if not, that's pretty insane.
Yeah.
But with motherboards, what we have to do is reflash the BIOS
Also, do not
image
question
with
why I'm a
one that is known good,
Bubble bass on Steam.
one that you downloaded from the manufacturer's website. And chances are
I hadn't seen
your
that.
BIOS
I'll have to
firmware
see
in
it.
your computer is outdated anyway, so you might as well reflash it during the update process, since updating your BIOS will fix known security issues and possibly make it faster. Also, I highly recommend setting a password on your BIOS. Of course, this isn't going to fix your BIOS if it's already compromised. Only flashing it, reflashing it is going to be able to remove any malware that's in the firmware. So I recommend doing this, adding the password in addition to flashing, because if the attack vector really is evil made, then a BIOS password is going to give you more protection moving forward. Because the evil made attack, it got its name from the idea that when people travel and they stay in hotel rooms, they usually leave their computers behind in their rooms while the maids are tidying up and doing what they're doing. So if there's a maid that works in the hotel you're staying at and she's a lead hacker, she might compromise your device with malicious firmware that she keeps on a flash drive hidden underneath a spray bottle or something, a BIOS password might slow her down, because to bypass it, she's going to have to get access to the jumpers on the board or the CMOS battery to clear the password, which for modern laptops means taking the whole goddamn thing apart. Now, any Elite Hexer maid worth her salt is also going to carry a screwdriver set with her on missions, but the longer that compromise takes, if she's got to take the whole thing apart, then the higher the chance of you walking in on the cute hacker maid alone in your hotel room and catching her in the act. At that point,
Yeah, it's a
the
Reddit reaction
mitigations are
stream
pretty
today.
straightforward. So reflash your BIOS, give it a password,
Wait,
never
did
trust the maid, and you should be
thumbnail
good.
actually save this
Like and
time?
comment, tag the algorithm, follow me on Odyssey,
did, okay.
and have a great day.
I've had bad recent streams. I've had situations where the thumbnail hasn't been updating properly when I actually update it. But Rory ASMR. Ooh. Yeah. No, an interesting situation. I hadn't really thought about virus infecting your motherboard. So that's an interesting setup. What I will say is I never trust when I'm in a hotel. I never leave shit out. Yeah, I mean, I always have stuff in my room, like I have stuff in my bags and stuff like that, but I never just leave stuff sitting out in my hotel room because I don't trust anyone coming into my room to not like just steal money or my shit. Win Chocolate ASMR 2023. I'll have to I'll have to do more of that kind of stuff this year. I'll have to try to remember to do more of that stuff this year. Your motherboard. I love how level nonsense. I love low level nonsense. Yeah. It'd be fun to make a mini OS specifically made to run one game. Ah, that'd be an interesting project. Make an OS that's this like entire purpose is to run that game. So like as soon as you boot up the system, it will just boot into the game immediately, and that's like the whole function of the OS. is that like little game. That'd be interesting. That'd be really interesting. All right. The CIA's cafeteria woes. What is this? Does it say complaints from the CIA?
As someone who looks through various Freedom of Information Act requests for the research I do on this channel and my main channel, I've become very familiar with a website by the name of muckrock.com.
Before we continue, we were talking a while back about Oreo flavors and how there's just way too many Oreo flavors. Well, a variant of Oreo that I hadn't seen before. Oh, it gets blue screened. I am invisible. Is the snowy enrobed Oreo. The white chocolate coated Oreo. This is not the new sponsor, unfortunately. I mean, it is, but it isn't. Yes, and no. Yes, no. Maybe. And they're really good. They're like a Christmas special thing, but they're really good. And they're now at the supermarket that I go to. They're currently like reduced to clear. Their price is reduced because it's no longer Christmas. But yeah, they're just like just a little. Can you see the? Wait. Oreo, and they're coated in white chocolate. I haven't done chocolate ASMR in a while. Please give. Go. This will have to do for chocolate ASMR. Anyway.
Now, if you've ever browsed through the responsive document packages for FOIA, you'll know that much of it isn't very interesting. In fact, for every interesting document you'll find from a government agency, you'll find 20 or so other pages where you're often left questioning why they were
Marble
classified in the first place. As one article stated, the former head of the Information Security Oversight Office, responsible for oversight of the U.S. classification system, has acknowledged that classification officials joke that you could easily classify the ham sandwich. And as Muckrock has pointed out on multiple occasions, the CIA has in fact classified, then later declassified information relating to ham sandwiches. And with this obsession over secrecy has come an entire subsection of stupidly classified documents, particularly when it comes to the CIA. But by far the most entertaining that I've come across in recent history is the CIA's cafeteria drama. Because apparently when people in the CIA aren't busy with, accidentally shipping a ton of booger sugar into the United States from Venezuela as a part of an effort to infiltrate and gather evidence on drug gangs, they're apparently writing passive-aggressive emails and bitching about their lunch. I had the Russian meal today, and I am disappointed. First of all, to try and be cute by substituting a backwards R, a yeah, for a R is tacky. I feel that someone tried to Americanize the food so it's palatable to Americans. Please realize that many of us have really traveled to these countries, and when you provide food like you did today, it causes me not to support this kind of cuisine in the future. I feel that, for example, beef stroganoff is more American than Russian. Who made the hummus today? Don't ever let them make it again. It didn't taste anything like
That's
hummus.
not how you spell hummus.
This morning, Dunkin' Donuts substituted their awesome hash browns for these awful ones at BK without even notifying any of the customers. I believe the cost of the Dunkin' Donuts hash browns are more than those at Burger King.
Burger King, $1.39. Dunkin' Donuts, $1.23.
Yet every customer who ordered a hash brown from Dunkin' Donuts today were charged the Dunkin' price and served the Burger King hash browns. It was a huge disappointment upon opening the bag and seeing the hash browns substituted for these god-awful things from Burger King. It is a typical business practice in the food industry to make your customers aware of any substitutions. The customer should be told before ordering it. The price should also reflect a poor quality product. I am sure I will not be the only one complaining about the Dunkin' Donuts hash browns today. Not to be dramatic, but Dunkin' Donuts hash browns are the crowning glory of a Dunkin' Donuts breakfast. Can someone please look into this? I nor anyone else should have to pay for a lesser quality substitution, nor should they be surprised that this occurred in the first place once they opened the bag.
Some high quality use of CIA time. Processing freaking complaints about a Dunkin' Donuts breakfast. Can someone please look into this? This matter is important. I wouldn't call Dunkin' Donuts hash browns great by any means. Yeah. Why does this make me giggle so much more?
Last week, and then again this week, I have talked to numerous cafe employees to inform them that the Pepsi coming out of the regular Pepsi spout is Diet Pepsi. They have the wrong Pepsi tank hooked up to the wrong Pepsi spout. Yet no one has fixed this problem. Why has this problem not been fixed? I find it rather amusing that at the CIA, even the soda gets to go undercover. Hi, I've sent comments about the jazz salads being misadvertised before, but yesterday takes the cake. The jazz salad was supposed to be a Sonoma grape and prosciutto salad. This was advertised on the online menu and on the sign above the salad. Sometimes they are different. This is one of my favorites. So I stand in line and I notice that there are no grapes. How can you possibly charge 50 cents per slice of bacon? That is ridiculous. It is a running joke in my office. Grapes are in the title of the salad. I asked about them and the server pointed to the cherry tomatoes, said they were red grapes. I said, no, those are tomatoes. I don't eat much bacon, mostly because buying bacon means using an additional container. The cost is not really an issue to me,
that they're actually
but he
red
suggests
grapes.
a complete overhaul to the entire bacon accounting system to get it down to 35 cents a strip. So should I just get grapes from the salad bar? She didn't really give me an opinion, but I did get grapes from the salad bar. And I did tell the cashier about it. She asked me to write a note. I hope you got the note. I put in a suggestion last month about changing how
Wait,
bacon...
so this isn't just there was a note written, and this is above and beyond that note. A further message was made.
is priced, and I've heard nothing back. I was wondering if it had been given any consideration and would like an update if possible. I do not condone putting salad bar items into a jazz salad. I have been known to get separate containers for the salad bar items to add to my jazz salad, but felt justified in this case. However, when an item is in the title of the jazz salad, please make an effort to include that item in the actual salad. Thank you. I returned a piece of chicken because there were feathers on the chicken. Okay, this one's reasonable. I told the person who provided the chicken that there were feathers on the chicken, and she said, "Doesn't all chicken have feathers on it?" I replied, "Only live chickens should have feathers." I am writing because I don't know if she was joking. Now, silliness aside, given the fact that the CIA is often seen as this rogue government agency that can seemingly do whatever it wants, it's rather bizarre to see members of that same agency apparently take days to fix something as simple as a Pepsi machine. It's like, goddamn, some of these people have a license to kill, but their hands are seemingly tied with red tape when it comes to something as simple as a decent lunch. Well, obviously in this video I picked the handful of examples that make them sound like children. Throughout the 150 pages of complaints I went through, the vast majority of those complaints are legitimate, and some of which really make me question what the hell is going on within the CIA's cafeteria. Like, this agent seems to have gotten a mysterious brown something in his breakfast sandwich. There's mentions of cockroaches in the kitchen, dead flies ending up in a salad seems to be commonplace, and other descriptions of the CIA's cafeteria make it seem like a depressing hellhole. And looking through the other various declassified documents, the lunchroom drama seemingly does not end, because within another declassified document, it reveals a rather dark conspiracy. Someone appears to have gotten caught red-handed stealing chicken from the CIA's cafeteria. According to another internal memo that was declassified discussing the potential closure of the Rendezvous Room, one of the agency's cafeterias, which at the time had an operating deficit of $84.16 a day. When discussing potential solutions to this problem, they cite frequent thefts from the cafeteria. No attempt is made to hide the fact that there are abuses. On one occasion, Mr. Arnold, the cafeteria manager, observed one woman who, after consuming 12 pieces of chicken, attempted to conceal an additional 5 pieces in her handbag. Once she realized that she was being observed, she returned the chicken to her plate and departed hastily. This is not an isolated case, of course, and abuses of this nature contribute to the deficit. Abuses and deficit notwithstanding, feelings run strong that the Rendezvous Room is a valuable asset and should be retained. Now, apparently thefts in the cafeteria were still commonplace after this memo, and this seems to have come to a head in 2014. We are now required to open our food containers when checking out. The checkout lady informed me that it was the new policy to see that no one is stealing food. If you're so worried about the few people who are stealing food, then why don't you go back to the clear containers and not make the rest of us feel like we're being interrogated while paying for food? Now, considering this is the CIA, rather funny to hear one of them complain about being interrogated. Considering, the more you fall down the rabbit hole here, it starts to sound like a bad sitcom. For instance, in 1975, the CIA launched a
That's just it. In my head, I'm just imagining this like fucking sitcom-esque TV show of like these Karen-esque CIA agents. They're like highly trained professionals, fucking spies who have been in active duty overseas, thwarting, big governments and stuff like that, sneaking into, like, doing espionage missions and stuff like that. And then they're just in the cafeteria complaining about there's no grapes in the fucking whatever that salad was. I don't know why that tickles me so much. It's so brilliant.
Year internal investigation into whether or not employees had to pay for their own coffee. Now, after a lengthy search for answers in the CIA's year-long investigation, they came to the conclusion that black budgets don't cover black coffee. And as Muckrock has pointed out 40 years later, CIA employees still seemingly chip into a Java fund. But perhaps the worst of all, another declassified document from the CIA reveals something even more bizarre. 3 or 4 people were seemingly fired after they got into a scuffle in the cafeteria. And this apparently took place in 1965. And it states, Bob Bannerman reported that there was a free-for-all fight in the cafeteria today, as a result of which 3 or 4 additional employees were dismissed. seeming to perhaps indicate that this is not the first time something like this has happened.
Highly intelligent brains need highly...
Now, on that note, I hope you all
calorific
sleep well tonight, knowing that the CIA seems to have fired more people for a food
Did I
fight
say that right?
than
Calorific.
MK Ultra. This is Barely Sociable. Have a
Caloric.
good night.
Calorific. Yeah. It's just, I don't know, it's brilliant. It's something about, like, people at the peak of their fields. Like, I can just imagine the same thing happening in, like, I don't know, like a laboratory. Like the fucking, what's it called? The Large Hadron Collider. There's, like, a cafeteria attached to the labs that contain a portion of the Large Hadron Collider. And the same shit happening, you know, there's like people complaining. I mean, yeah, a fly in your food is disgusting, but like the bacon was a little bit pricey, or the fucking grapes. Yes, yeah, yeah, exactly. It's just, I don't know why that idea just makes me laugh so hard. Or yeah, like the people at the International Space Station being like, this paste is a little bit this food paste that we eat, this version of the food paste tastes different. It's I refuse to eat it until we're shipped a new shipment that tastes the same as the old paste. Not some cheap new paste. But scientists are very tired people. Yeah, true. Oh, God. I know we're in space and all, but I don't like this. Have it shipped back. But it costs like millions of dollars every time we ship anything. Or is it billions? I forget. Oh, I don't know. It just tickles me. Anyway, Tech Moan tries to apologize to the 8-bit guy. Oh, this is a YouTube poop.
Prime Minister said was finally freed from the toilet after a 5-hour ordeal. Now on BBC2 we join everyone's favourite
I don't
whiz
know
kid on the 8-bit guy.
who Tech Moan is. I know the 8-bit guy. I watched a few of his videos now. Also Tech Moan. I haven't come across Tech Moan, even though I have watched a few of retro. Oh, okay.
Sorry. I know I made a mistake. Right, now, that sounds to me like a very repairable problem. Now, I just wonder if I could just apologise. Okay. Right, well, that's what I was expecting. I'll just mention, I wanted to mention behind you there is a very noisy road. Of course, the more I go this way, it will get quieter as far as that's concerned. But yeah, it's not a great place for the chat. I'm saying, Donna. I don't know if it's supposed to be here. I'm very good at this. Hello, Doc. Yeah.
Oh my god. Also, I like that they made car starting noises for a Tesla. If it was real, if we were hearing real noises, you wouldn't hear anything.
Okay, well, things didn't quite work out as planned for me on this one, but I'm not as concerned as you might think. I've got half a dozen different friends who know a heck of a lot better than the so-called 8-bit guy anyway. The thing is, though, that what this has taught me is never waste time on stupid losers. He's an absolute miserable garbage person. Anyway, I don't need losers in my life. Other people just make things
All
worse.
the sniffing after
I won't bother
everything
anymore.
he says. I know I'm
won't
someone
be
who's
scared of
notorious
being alone
for
now. See, I was concerned before, but
sudden
I'm fine with myself.
inhales.
New chapter, new era. Definitely looking forward to the
Is
future.
it?
I mean, yes, screw the 8-bit guy.
Oh, really?
More like the 8-shit guys. But yeah, I think I've
Wow.
spent more than enough time on this particular so-called friend already. Exclusive focus on tech moan from now on.
Wow. Oh, whoa, this is a 10-minute video. Holy crap. Take a shot every time he sniffs. They're dead. You
I think
just-
the 8-bit guy, I'm sick of his crap, should be hanged. I'd warn you, stay away from him. Very, very dangerous individual. He needs to be cancelled and put in prison straight away. So I need to make sure everyone knows all about what he's done to me.
Never in my life did I think that autographing things would be part of
Straining
my
order.
job. Nevertheless, I've already got a little pile of hate mail here already. Now, I don't normally
Hate
get
mail.
this much in one day. This is a little bit of an unusual amount. I mean, this is just escalated out of control. But I feel like I'm kind of doing a service because if that man gets,
I'll
some
do a
help
take
with it,
my own
maybe
video
the next
for the
person that
stream,
needs
but
it,
they kind of
will
slow
have
pace,
it.
but real good. Oh, okay.
So it really doesn't matter.
Well, just DM me
what I say after
the
a day or two,
YouTube
but I'll
channel,
move on to
or
something
DM me
else
like one of
anyway.
their videos or something.
But anyway, I simply don't have the time.
and I'll watch
I
it.
need to
I'll
move
check it
along
out
and
after
get
the
this machine
stream.
ready to retrobrite. I have a limited
Because
time with all
I've
three
watched a few of
these
Eight
borrowed
Bit
machines,
Guy's
and I'm up
videos
against
since you
another
suggested
deadline,
him.
which is the weather. According to the
but I haven't
forecast,
had
I
a
have
tick mode,
exactly
so,
one
yeah.
day of sunny weather with maybe 2 days with a little sun here and there. So I'm going to have to move quickly to get all three of these computers done. So the very next morning, I went outside with the they found me.
What the heck?
Don't want to make any enemies in doing this.
David, I'm not letting you take my son.
I will wind up in court. Well, past.
David.
Hello?
You don't. I don't know what you were thinking of this post on Twitter and this shit in my driveway. What is your problem?
I don't know where that's from or anything about it. Hey, a wicked copy shallow. What's your opinion about that, guys? 1 exclamation mark.
Techmoan, stop. Look, what you did to me was malicious, it was negligent, it was careless.
Yeah, but
I'm not going to waste my time trying to even debate it here.
I think
I was totally shocked and taken by surprise at the malicious outrage of posted on Twitter. And I don't really know what to say about it other than just, I can apologize and say, hey, I'm sorry that you felt that I should have treated you differently when you were invading my yard or, the car accident. Look, I don't want this stuff in my life, and I don't need you guys to me and my family, so...
Yeah. Okay. Well,
please, I don't like
A
being
toy that
a jerk to people.
faked
but
interactivity.
if you offer and
Oh,
I politely decline, please don't go crazy.
interesting.
You're not helping
Yeah,
me
yeah.
out. I mean, I hate that I have to be that way. I don't like doing that, but I did want to at least, address it.
right. So. Yeah. Hey, big guy. You DTF.
Oh, wait. Is
That's the dynamic track following technology that
that
Philips have
faked
developed for the
interactivity
Video
thing, is
2000
that
system. Now, using this system, the video
what I
head
think
was
it is?
mounted on a piezoelectric.
I have seen Techmoan. That video you just sent me. I have seen that video. Yeah, that was a really good video. I think you might have actually sent it in a reaction stream before, or someone sent it. Cause I've seen that toy. You put in a tape, and it has a bunch of channels on the tape, and you just and it's like a quiz show, yeah, and you answer the questions on the tape, and it's like through the use of different tracks, it's able to pretend that it's remembering things and storing information. Yeah, I did see that actually. I have to subscribe. Also, I meant to mention, I was going to mention it somewhere, but also I thought I'd mention it here. Digits, you sent us a link to this thing called the I think it's, I'm just gonna make sure I got it right. No, that's not. Okay, it's not coming up the way I expected. Shit. Software. Oh, I had it slightly misspelled. This freaking software. It is really cool looking. So yeah, for people on the stream who are watching and might be interested in game development stuff, Crocodile 3D looks like really interesting software. It's basically if you are like more of a 2D artist, or you're familiar with like a more old school methods for creating graphics and stuff like that, this is a really neat looking software for basically making 3D environments or 3D objects or 3D things using like old school methods for making those 3D models. So yeah, like basically like it's all tile based 3D like spaces and stuff like that. Because that's more of how you would do 2D graphics. 2D graphics is usually tile-based sprites and things like that. But this software uses that kind of tech, but uses it for a 3D space. So you can make like really like cool old school looking graphics. Even including like character models and stuff like that. It looks like something from like old school games. And it actually reminds me of Frog Gun. There's a game I played called Frog Gun, which has this kind of graphics as well. Yeah, very, very cool. I would get it, but it does cost money. Anyway, just thought I'd bring that up because I meant to mention, like, I checked it out and I was like, oh, that's cool. I've added it to my wish list, but for me, it's like $30 US. So it's like, for me, it would be like 40, it's like 43 New Zealand dollars. But yeah, anyway. Welcome to the retro tech rabbit hole. Yeah. Yeah, I checked it out. I had a like slightly deeper dive where I like looked into the software and like checked out some more stuff, and like I looked at their gallery of different games and stuff like that. And some of the games,
This guy's not really such a bad chap after all. But I wanted to make it up to him, so I've got an idea. We've got quite a few of these mini-disc players.
And as far as the US is concerned, mini-disc never really happened. Despite Sony's best efforts, people just weren't interested in the format. So the 8-bit guy
Could have completely missed out.
So I've got an idea. What I'm going to do is get a few spare machines that I could send to him.
But just because I don't really need them, I just thought it'd be a nice thing to do. But these red and black ones, those seem to be like almost the pick of the bunch so far. He's going to be so happy with these. I've got this gum stick. So let's see, does that...
Us old YouTube guys need to help each other from time to time.
I'll pop down the post office.
Yeah, some of the games that were shown off in the gallery for Crocodile 3D, they look like games that they looked almost like, you know, your old school like Resident Evil or Silent Hill, and I thought they looked really cool. So I was like, oh, that may be some really good software for us.
Techno.
We have a rather large problem. Tecmo. It's going crazy again. Despite our efficient system, I was spending about 8 hours a day opening packages from Tecmo for almost 2 months straight. My wife would come home from work and spend an hour or two opening stuff with me. Despite this, we could still only get about 50 packages opened out per day on average, and I think we worked together one Saturday and managed to open around 180 packages that day. My house was completely filled with boxes related to Tecmo. I even had to use part of my parents' garage to store the materials.
Okay. I will never trust crabs again.
So what about that? Is that an idea that could work?
Yep. Okay.
Just sit in
No,
reverse,
apparently it's a
right.
terrible idea.
Now you ask why. I don't even question it. I trust your judgment. I shall never trust crabs again.
Alright, so thanks, Mac, for coming and helping me take care of my problem today. I think Tecmo abandoned the nest after the second or third shot, but they won't have a home to come back to whenever.
Alright, why do I not trust
Absolutely.
crabs? Alright, I think that's it. I think that's it. You're very shellfish. So he killed him? Is that the implication? I think it's gonna be that for the, yeah, it's that for the rest of the, the video, so yeah. Well, wasn't expecting that. The Simpsons dubbed with Half-Life sound effects. Okay. Ah, so that's why. Yeah, don't trust crabs because they're very shellfish. I see.
Ah, that sound. What is it? Aren't you a bit worried about that exponential cascade scenario? Ah, don't worry. Surely someone will come and rescue us. Do you know that their idea of containment is to kill everyone associated with the project?
We are here to destroy your ass.
Oh my God, we're doomed! Have you heard?
Don't crap
They're
out day
killing
rebuilding.
scientists. Our own race turning against us. Ah! Greetings. What the hell is going on? Well, so much for the government. It's hell out there. It's completely under military control. I don't know how you can say that. The military cleanup is just a paranoid rumor. What about that exponential cascade scenario? Don't worry. The possibility of a resonance cascade is extremely unlikely. Ah, yes, you're right. Ah, what a relief.
I miss old Simpsons. I haven't watched The Simpsons in so long. It just reminded me of how much I enjoyed the original Simpsons. All right, Breaking Bad 64. Yeah. Yeah. I don't know why that's that tickles me. The fact that he just refuses to read the message. Like, in my head, it's like he just refuses to read the message that it's like, you need 8 stars. He's like, no! Something we should all watch. Oh. Ooh. Okay.
Ah, the 90s. What a decade. They had rollerblading, weird fashion, Coolio, the Y2K crisis, and that's it. Regardless, even if you didn't live it, the decade was legendary. And it just so happened to be a pivotal time for the video game industry. With the revolution of real-time 3D graphics allowing for three-dimensional console games for the first time, numerous video game companies attempted to make the jump from 2D to 3D. But with such growth comes many growing pains.
Aww.
Many developers were unsure of how to translate their experience with creating 2D games into this new dimension. They couldn't just change the camera angle and call it a day. It was a new frontier, and there weren't any standards or conventions to utilize yet. Many early 3D games did not control well, were too difficult, or too complicated for players to enjoy. Many of these games suffered because of a shared design flaw. They did not
And
fully
while
consider
people
if
love
3D was
Jumping
enhancing
Flash,
or hindering their game.
it does look like a game
those
that makes me
first
feel
ever 3D
sick.
movies in the 50s where they put too much focus on the fact that it's in 3D instead of just making a good movie that just so happens to be in 3D. Likewise, it felt like these developers were trying to make a game in 3D, and the game part just sort of fell by the wayside. When they should have focused their
Trying to
efforts on making
speedrun.
a good game. But then, descending from the heavens in 1996, came a new game. A pioneer that would set the standard for the third dimension, and gave millions of people a glimpse of the gaming world's bright future.
Crash
That
Bandicoot.
game was Super Mario 64.
Crash Bandicoot came out the exact same year, and had a bunch of its own innovations. But yeah. And many games had come out before this that were 3D, but most of which had not quite,
but it also set the bar.
not quite got it, you
Even
know.
after 26 years, Mario 64 is still widely loved and played by the gaming community, and it still serves as a major inspiration for games today. And somehow, this game is not in the World Video Game Hall of Fame yet. How?
What games are
One
in
of
the
most
Hall of
influential
Fame?
games in history. How is it not in the Hall of? How did Microsoft Solitaire get in before Mario 64? It's
Well, it is iconic.
How
It
do they
is
even decide who
iconic.
gets in? Who's making these decisions?
Yeah, who?
Oh. All right. Oh, okay, I can fix this. Just gotta scroll down here. Alright, Super Mario 64, and why does this game deserve to be in the Hall of Fame?
Because it's Super Mario.
And okay, obviously I'm gonna have to build a proper case for this game, so in the words of Mario, let's go.
Yeah, I was gonna say who. I was about to say that same
So the
question.
Hall of
Like,
Fame looks for 4 things when choosing a game to nominate: icon status, longevity, geographical reach, and influence. Allow me to explain how Super Mario 64 meets each of these. Prior to Mario 64, many games had differing methods for navigating a 3D space, but they all had one thing in common. They were limited by the directional pad, which is an industry standard on every video game controller. It was a cross-shaped set of buttons that represented one of 4 directions. With it, you could represent up, down, left, and right, as well as 4 diagonals. So 8 total directions, not exactly ideal for a 3D space. Some games opted to function just like 2D games, but with 3D elements thrown in for art style and variety. This is often referred to as
2.5D, yeah.
But ultimately, these games didn't show the true potential of the third dimension. They felt like the games that everyone was used to, but you'd occasionally move towards or away from the camera. You were still locked into moving in a 2D plane. Other games opted to use tank controls. You would press up or down on the D-pad to move straight forward or backward, and use left and right to slowly turn in that direction. However, this still didn't feel right. It felt slow and robotic. Like nobody stops moving just so they can change direction. Like, it doesn't feel natural. Like, I can't imagine how annoying life would be if this was how we walked around.
I believe in that game you can turn while running. It's just that if you want the most effective.
It doesn't feel right, does it? A few games like Crash Bandicoot used 8-way movement, which technically gave you access to all directions, but only in 45-degree increments. It was a step in the right direction, but it wasn't quite there. But that's when Nintendo burst in and said, "Hold my controller." This is the Nintendo 64 controller, which was designed alongside.
It was the first one to have a. Well,
Speaking of
actually,
design,
was it
why does
first?
this thing have 3 grips on it? Like, Nintendo
What came
realized that
first,
we had
DualShock or
hands, right?
Nintendo 64 controller?
Anyway. The middle grip of the controller proudly featured a control stick. This was a precision joystick that could be pushed to any angle with any amount of force, and the game would react accordingly. In Mario 64, you could nudge the stick slightly to start walking very slowly, and increase your speed by pushing the stick further. You could change Mario's direction on a dime just by pushing the stick in a different direction.
The first DualShock came out in
Mario's speed would stop by
1997.
quickly pushing the stick the opposite way. Or you could spin around in circles and make Mario run around.
I mean, technically, arcade machines had
the control stick was a huge leap ahead of the
sticks
classic
well
D-pad.
back in the
Super Mario 64
80s.
utilized this input innovation in tandem with a 3D environment to show the world what was possible. Pretend I didn't hit that wall. Additionally, the N64's controller featured a secondary D-pad called the C buttons in order to control the game's camera. Prior to this, 3D game cameras either didn't turn at all or were locked to your character's perspective. Simply glancing around your environment was a chore. Mario 64's camera glided freely throughout the environment, and the player could direct the camera to turn in a direction by pressing it on the C buttons. Additionally,
The way the
zoom
camera
in
usually
and
worked
out.
in PlayStation
If you
games
zoomed
was
it all the
shoulder
way in,
buttons.
you could guide Mario's gaze with the
L2 and
control stick.
R2.
This amount of camera control was so foreign at the time that Nintendo
You could do this in-
contextualized it as a flying character filming Mario on his adventures, reporting it like a news broadcast. This game innovated
In
two
there's
aspects
some
of
older
video games that
PS2
needed
games, sorry, PS1
movement
games
and camera control.
that you could
And the
go
insane
into
part
like
is,
a first
they
person
nailed it
view
on their first try.
and like look
And on top
around.
of that, the game is fun. Imagine that. Mario's first 3D game literally blew every other game out of the water. It was a smashing success. The game sold nearly 12 million copies across the globe, and it became the top-selling game on the Nintendo 64.
Mario #1! Woohoo!
With that many copies sold globally, Mario 64 definitely checks off the geographical reach criteria. But what about these two? Oh, don't worry. Mario 64 easily
Seems like
crushes
hates
those
Mario, I
as
guess. they just haven't had it
26
suggested,
years later,
maybe.
Super Mario 64
I doubt
is
that.
still widely loved.
I'm
still-
sure it's just that the way that Hall of Fame for video games works is just very strange. It's one of those situations where it's not really. I wouldn't trust necessarily that it's particularly accurate for the most well-known or most advanced, most groundbreaking games.
Played frequently, whether through emulation or through official re-releases. In recent years, the game has become a staple of speedrunning, which is a subculture of gaming based on completing a game as quickly as possible by any means necessary, sort of like a world record. Because of the smooth movement and freedom that Mario 64 allows, it makes for an incredibly fun challenge to race through this game. In fact, the game has become so synonymous with speedrunning that a popular YouTube animator made a parody of Mario 64 centered around speedrunning, with 24 million views, which helps further cement the game in internet culture. There is also a microcosm of gamers who create modifications for Mario 64, hacking their own content into the game. This can involve adding new environments, new abilities,
Full of
new
lame.
objectives, pretty much anything. Through these mods,
Thank
this
my
community
friend
of players
Pooh
is able
Pig
to breathe
Ultra
new
Deluxe
life
Game of the
into
Year
this
edition.
decades-old game. And because of the versatile framework that Mario 64 provides, the creativity of these mods is only bound by the ingenuity of
mods,
the
yeah.
hackers. Having a community contribute to a game in this manner has been proven to be beneficial to its relevance and popularity.
They made
There's an
a
entire paper written about it.
Super Mario
parody
Odyssey
animations, and game
mod
mods
for
are all a form
64.
of community value co-creation, where the customers interact with a product that has already been launched and add value to it at the consumption stage for the benefit of other product users and as producers, which enhances the product's longevity and marketplace acceptance. The community surrounding this game has lasted for over 2.5 decades, keeping this game
Terminal
alive with
montage, everything I
speedrunning,
said art style and
animated
video. Yeah,
parodies,
yeah.
game mods, and so much more.
I remember
These
seeing
reasons
this video at some
easily
point. I don't
covers the
remember
icon
when
status and longevity requirements.
or where.
Okay, on to the last one. Influence.
Yeah, I mean,
After Mario 64 came out, nearly every game company and developer started taking notes from it. Even the consoles
Yeah.
themselves felt the need to catch up. The original PlayStation controller didn't have any kind of stick, until Sony made it grow a pair.
dual stick.
I'll see myself out.
Ooh.
In the following years, everyone started making the jump to 3D. There were classic characters making the transition all over the place, not to mention all of the original characters being made for this new era. You could play as a purple dragon trying to save his species. You could play as a bear with a bird in his backpack trying to save his sister from an evil witch. You could even play as a cartoon squirrel living in a world full of crass humor and swearing.
Hey, I'm here. Hurry up. Pick me up, head.
Every game now had a solid foundation to work off of thanks to Mario 64. Even if a given game wasn't a platformer, they still used the now standard control stick for smooth 360-degree movement, and a secondary control stick became the standard way to move the camera. With how far these 3D games have come since then, and the games industry as a whole, one can only wonder what we'd be
Yeah,
doing if Mario
that's something that has to
64
be said as having a
Would we be
secondary
researching how video
stick.
games can train doctors
That's
to perform
the
surgeries
dual
using robots?
the dual
Would we
shock
be studying how video
allowing
games
for a
can improve
second
users' driving skills?
stick
I
for
would hazard to say
camera
we wouldn't
movement
be,
is like
at least not
was a
yet.
huge
With
revelation
all
as
of that
well.
being said, Super Mario 64 has certainly been an influence on the game industry. Actually, no. Mario 64 isn't just an influence. It isn't just a launch title. It is a gaming landmark. It represented 3D gaming breaking out of its awkward phase, maturing into the gaming staple we have today. It was the foundation off of which every 3D game has built upon. It's the reason control sticks are an industry standard. and it served as the inspiration for hundreds of other games that brought millions of players around the world some of their fondest gaming memories. It flipped every video game convention on its head, it changed the way we make and play games, and it's still going strong 26 years later. Who knows where we would be without it?
Fair. A fair analysis about why it should be on the friggin' Hall of Fame. The fact that it isn't is kind of ridiculous.
Oh, and by the way, I noticed that 98.9% of you are not subscribed.
Holy shit. If that's a true statistic, holy shit. Yeah, I was gonna say, do they... they don't have the link to the game of the Hall of... I was like, what games are actually on the Gaming Hall of Fame? Gaming Hall of Fame. Is this the same site? Okay, this looks like the same site. I'm just curious. Miss Pac-Man, Civilization, Ocarina of Time, Dance Dance Revolution. Wait. All inducted games. Ganzo 3. It's one of the first true open world spaces. Oregon Trail, of course. The original Legend of Zelda, Sims, Sonic. I won't go through all of it, because we'll probably be here all day. Tetris, of course. Space Invaders, yep. The original Mario's in there. When I say the original Mario, I mean the original Super Mario. Pac-Man, World of Warcraft, Doom, Pong. Centipede. I've heard of the game before. Wait, Centipede. Game. Maybe the era in which it came out, it was a big deal. Maybe Centipede was a big game, a big deal, but that feels like a it's a bit odd to be on here. But Bejeweled, yeah. Bejeweled was a classic old PC game. Super Mario Kart, World Combat, Microsoft Solitaire. See, some of these are just like, they're iconic, not necessarily groundbreaking. Colossal Cave Adventure, like one of the first ever it was a freaking cassette tape text-based adventure, I'm assuming. Tomb Raider, Space War. I don't even know what that is. John Madden Football, Final Fantasy 7. Where in the World is Carmen San Diego? Yeah. We were talking about that in the previous stream. Yeah, so they don't hate Mario. They have Mario on here. Minecraft should be on here if it isn't. Pokemon Red and Green, StarCraft, Halo. These all look like... These are all valid games. Oh yeah, Minecraft, there it is. Minecraft's there. King's Quest. Fascinating that King's Quest is on this list. This was the first game... This is basically the first Dark Souls, or first Souls game. I think it's this one. Or am I mixing it up? Wait. King's Quest. Shit, I might be mixing it up. Wait. Yeah, no, I'm mixing it up. Fuck, what was it called? Yeah, I mean, this is very valid. Yeah. I'm mixing it up with something else. Wait. Demon Souls. Oh, it's called King's Field. Yeah, that's it. Oh, Fish caught me, yeah. King's Field is the original Demon/Dark Souls. Original Souls game. King's Field, yeah. Yeah, no. King's Quest is your classic point-and-click game. Oh, what did I click? I clicked something at the end there. Oh, load more there. I wanted to load. Or is that it? Is that the whole list? Did I get to the bottom of the list by accident? I did. That's it? There's so many games that are not on this list. Like, sure, yeah, they've got a lot of really iconic games covered. But there are so many more. There's only 36 games on the Hall of Fame. Wow. Just wow. That's ridiculous. Yeah, no, I thought it was too good to be true that it was the original freaking Dark Souls. Half-Life 2? Nope. Neither of the Half-Life games are there, even though Half-Life 1 should definitely be there. Half-Life 2 should probably be there as well. Like, just like with Super Mario, you know, the original Mario's there, but Mario 64 should probably be in there too. Half-Life 1 definitely should be in there, and Half-Life 2 should probably be in there too. The fact they have Halo in there, but they don't have Half-Life 2 in there is criminal. They... I mean, half of Valve's freaking discography, if you will, should be on there. Shit. There was a game I was just thinking about before that I was like, that should definitely be on there, and I've forgotten what it is now. Just great. Pokemon Red and Blue was on there. That's definitely right up there. Trying to like feed through my mind. Borderlands was not on there. No. Halo revolutionized FPS for consoles. Wow. I don't think Donkey Kong was on there, but I might have just been misremembering. It might be on there. Metroid and Castlevania. Nope, neither of them are on there. Yeah. Yeah, they have GTA 3 on there, which is good. And that, while I would say GTA 3 is my least favorite of the like trio of PS2 era GTA games, it's probably it's the most. It was the first like groundbreaking one. I would say that Vice City is way better. And so is wait, what the hell's it called? San Andreas. I think San Andreas is significantly better, but it's fine. Yeah, exactly. Metroid and Castlevania, those two games were the pioneers of the Metroidvania genre, and so many games are influenced by those games. They should definitely be at least one of those games should be on there. GTA 5 maybe. GTA 5 probably should be once again because of how big and ridiculously influential it is. Nope, Rogue wasn't on there either. Yeah. Yeah. GTA 5, the most expensive game ever made. You know, was like one of the biggest open world games at the time. Yeah, literal genre defining games, and it's not there yet. That's why for me I'm just like I put no faith or no weight in that particular list, in that particular Hall of Fame. Red Dead Redemption 2 no, I think GTA 5 is still the most expensive game ever made, isn't it? Actually, I'm not sure anymore. Most expensive video game ever made. Oh god, has it been supplanted by Cyberpunk? Oh my god. Apparently the most expensive video game ever made was Cyberpunk. 316 million US dollars. GTA 5 comes in second at 265 million. Modern Warfare 2, 250 million. Red Dead Redemption 2 is... Red Dead Redemption 2 just says 200 to 300 million, so they don't know how much it is. Final Fantasy 7 cost 145 million? What the heck? The original Final Fantasy 7, the one that came out in the 90s, cost 145 million US dollars to make. That's wild. I never would have guessed. Holy shit. Anyway, it's steamed hams, but it's LA Noire. Yes, Star Citizen is one of those things where, I mean, it doesn't count yet because it hasn't been released. But yeah, Star Citizen is one of those examples. Star Citizen is a game that we used as an example when I was doing my a game development teaching thing at my old high school. That was a game that I used as an example constantly of the problem with a lack of scope. Where you have a director and he has a team, but whenever they think of something new or fancy that they want to add to their game, they just add it. And because people really, really, really want to get Star Citizen, people keep putting money into it. So there's no limitation to their scope, to their ability to add to their scope. So it's a game that's been in the works for years and years and years and years, and it's scope creep to its extreme, yeah. Scope creep is fear. That's why whenever I'm trying to work on projects in the modern time, whenever I'm trying to work on my own projects and stuff like that, I constantly try to find ways to simplify. Like, I try and shorten scope constantly because I know that I've had projects. I've had, from first-hand experience, I have experienced feature creep or just scope creep. So many projects I've made have ballooned into something undoable, you know? So my constant thing I always try and do when I'm working on projects is to, like, see what might be getting a little bit out of hand and try to rein it in. Do things like the most recent thing with one of our projects that we're working on at the moment is working with people on the team, decided that we were going to go with a more old school graphical style. Limit the requirements for graphics, because otherwise I don't think that we'll ever get it all done. Pardon me. Sorry, I didn't get a very good sleep last night. Anyway.
Well, Seymour, I made it, despite your directions.
Ah, Superintendent Chalmers, welcome. I hope you're prepared for an unforgettable luncheon.
Yeah.
Splatoon is a more of an not so
ruined.
sure about it. I know a lot of people love Splatoon, but I don't know if it's quite the icon that some of those other games
it as
are.
my own cooking. Delightfully devilish, Seymour.
And you don't have 200 million lying around, exactly.
Skinner with his crazy explanations. The superintendent's gonna need his medication. When he hears Skinner's baby
interesting.
they'll be trouble in town tonight.
Seymour! Super. Just really quick. That's actually something that I tried to differentiate back when I was doing a project back in like late university, where I had to every week I had to write down at least one game idea of some kind. Well, I sort of allowed it to branch out a little bit in that I could write story ideas as well. And for a while there, I actually did start writing like small short story kind of stories. But I never really made anything of them. I'm currently writing a novel, but it's not based on a game I've come up with. Ah, right, yeah.
Attendant, I was just stretching my calves on the windowsill. Isometric exercise. Care to join me?
Doubt.
Why is there smoke coming out of your oven, Seymour?
Oh, that isn't smoke. It's steam. Steam from the steamed clams we're having. Steamed clams.
Doubt. Oh, no, true. That's right, yes. That's right, because he was never told about the
Lieutenant, I hope you're ready for mouth-watering hamburgers.
I thought we were having steamed clams.
No, I said steamed hams. That's what I call hamburgers.
Doubt. Lie.
You call hamburgers steamed hams?
Yes, it's a regional dialect.
Uh-huh. What region?
Upstate New York.
Really? Well, I'm from Utica, and I've never heard anyone use the phrase steamed hams.
I love the little sound effects
No,
as
it's
well.
an Albany expression.
I see. You know, these hamburgers are quite similar to the ones they have at Krusty Burger.
That sound that it just made when he chose truth. That's the sound that means that you chose wrong.
It's an Albany expression.
I see.
Dun, dun, dun.
You know, these hamburgers are quite similar to the ones they have at Krusty Burger.
Oh, no. Patented Skinner burgers. Old family recipe.
For steamed hams.
Yes.
Yes, and you call them steamed hams despite the fact they are obviously grilled.
You know,
yes.
One thing Excuse me for 1 second. I'm good. Oh, well, that was wonderful. Good time was had by all. I'm pooped.
Yes, I should be. Good Lord, what is happening in there?
Aurora Borealis?
Aurora Borealis. At this time of year, at this time of day, in this part of the country, localized entirely within your kitchen.
Yes.
True.
That's it?
No.
Seymour! The house is on fire!
No, Mother, it's just the Northern Lights.
Well, Seymour, you are an odd fellow, but I must say, you steam a good ham.
Help! Help!
The Albany expression. I love that. Interrogation failed. That's brilliant. You wonder how AI would recreate that scene? An interesting thought. For some reason, I can't claim a free coin, by the way. So I guess I can't reward anyone with, you know, a free award. It's weird because there's a claim button up here. Anyway, free cop art 4. It's over.
It's week 4, and I hope by the end of these 2 days, it's running. Even if it's out of a bucket of fuel. We've got to quickly drain the tank in the back, because I dread what's in there. It smells like pure Sharpie. James thinks it's going to be dark red. I'm going to guess orange, because rust in the tank. I hope it is red, actually. Please don't be rust.
Trying not to get the petrol up my arm.
Ew, oh, that smell.
It's pretty gross.
It's pink.
Okay.
Pink.
Mm.
That's not the two colors we were talking about. James was right. Dark
Yeah, it's
red.
red. Yeah.
And stinky. Look at this nut. Look at this. Like, you can't. It's got a lip in front of it. Like, so you can't even attack it from the front. And it's got this in the way, so you can't attack it from another angle. Nice. So there is a carb kit for this guy, but the carb technically works. And so, even if it runs
Drink
a little
it?
bit rough,
Ugh.
I just want to hear it go boom, and that's it. So this will get rebuilt.
Someone's probably done an AI
Pretty wild, isn't it?
recreated
Like, this is
steamed
where the air and
hams.
fuel goes in. Look at it. It's like brand new.
Would not be surprised at all.
Look at
Intrusive
Our
thoughts.
precious
Yeah.
work table, soiled for good. Hey, is this self-cleaning? It doesn't even need to go in the blaster. It's just dumping its contents. Yuck, I hate it. Wow. He did notice it's...
I don't really like car videos. Make me think about my car and upset me. I'm sure my car needs a bunch of work done. I have a cool AI video I could add to sub. Oh yeah. What is it about intrusive thoughts? Sick beat kitty. Scrape, scrape, meow, scrape, 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 meow. What's he doing? What are you doing, Kimchi? Kimchi. What are you up to? What's he trying to achieve? That's it, that's the whole video. Aww. Imagine if the sounds of the cat scraping the box gives you a copyright strike. That video is... I was thinking about that when I was watching it. I was like, this is the kind of video that could theoretically get me claimed. It's usually it's the cute cat videos that are the ones that are copyright claimed. Not because like they have any reason to be copyright claimed, but just because I guess because people love cat stuff. Cat stuff, especially cat meme stuff, they typically get approached by the companies that buy videos to then be copyright claimed. So it's more of a case of the cat just wanted to make some music. Yeah. It's usually a case of not that the people who own the video are necessarily, or, you know, it's not like cat people in particular are particularly litigious. It's just like cat stuff typically gets approached by like Jukin Media or one of those like companies, and they buy the rights to the video from the creator and then copyright claim it on all like platforms. Anyway, ultra wide displays in games. Oh, this.
Hey everyone, Garbage
seems
here.
interesting.
Whether you're playing on a PC or a console,
Garbage.
chances are you're playing on a display with a 16:9 aspect ratio. Some common sizes include 1280 by 720, 1920 by 1080, and 2560 by 1440.
That's the one I
but
have.
there are a decent number of gamers out there who play on displays with a 21:9 aspect ratio,
Oh my God.
commonly known as ultra wide. And these are, as their name suggests, a bit wider than your typical display. Gaming
Yeah.
on an ultrawide is pretty cool. It looks really nice, but they present some annoying problems for the game developers who have to take all these different aspect ratios into account when making their games. For example, in this quick scene that I threw together, in order to account for different aspect ratios, I have the menu buttons anchored to the top left corner of the window. And so if you change the width of the window, the menu buttons maintain their position relative to the top left corner and move along with it. This is an example of a dynamic user interface that can accommodate many different types of screens. One small issue this can create is in first-person shooters, where on an ultra-wide, certain HUD elements on the screen are much further apart than on a standard display, which means it's a little bit harder to quickly glance at important information like your health and ammo in the middle
Usually
of a
you
fight,
want them to
which
scale
can put you at
somewhat.
a disadvantage. Some games get around this by anchoring all the vital HUD information at the bottom center of the screen, but this isn't appropriate for every single game, and so it really is a case-by-case thing. But this is nothing compared to the problems ultra-wides create for 2D games.
Yes.
In 3D, no matter how wide your view gets, there is always more of the world to see because it's 3D and it's all around you. But in 2D games, you can't just expand the window infinitely and see more and more of the game. For example, let's say you bump into a wall and you're not meant to see what's on the other side. If you're playing the game on a standard display that the game was designed for, the game can just keep whatever's on the other side of the wall hidden just off of screen. But on an ultra wide, there's a possibility that the screen is wide enough for you to see what's on the other side. I'm pretty sure there are creative ways to get around this, but honestly, the easiest solution is to just force the game to play at a fixed aspect ratio and let the ultra-wide players deal with those black bars on the sides. This video isn't meant to discourage you from
Just
getting an
deal with it,
ultra-wide
brah.
display if you really want one, but I thought you might find it interesting knowing some of the
I
unique
was gonna say, I
challenges they
noticed that
present
too.
for the game developers themselves. Anyways, I'm going to be live streaming on my Twitch channel later in the day after this video releases, and so if you want to come hang out,
Anyway, yeah. It's one of those things that you have to think about when developing games. I had that situation come up with in the game jam that I was part of, the first game jam I was part of, when Damien and I made Whisper. I already had that issue where I developed the game with 16:9 in mind, but then someone, and it's a 2D game, so it's not able to really be played in any other resolution. We had a person who was confused as hell about the game, and as I slowly discovered, it was because they were playing on a 16:10 ratio monitor, and I must have missed the step where it in Unity you can tell it to force users to use a specific ratio. I must have missed that setting at the time because basically his screen, it was cutting off the edges. There was he couldn't see the exits of the level. And so I believe it. I eventually discovered what his problem was and fixed it. But in the meantime, he was super confused as to why he was like, why do these exits work, but these other exits don't? And it's because most of them weren't exits. They just looked like exits because the screen was cut off at the edges. I know Godot does have a fancy scaling setting for helping with that. Like a 3200 by 200 game or something. Because, right, I see what you mean. Yeah. See, basically what was happening was the game camera was just changing to a 16:10. Because in most 3D games, you can just adjust the camera, especially since Unity canvases usually ask that things be mounted relative to the camera space. So if you adjust the camera space, usually it adjusts it all for you. It doesn't always work flawlessly, but usually it just adjusts it and it's fine. And in the case of Whisper, everything still functioned exactly as it should in 16:10, except that the very final tiles on either side of the screen were missing, basically. You couldn't see them. They were cut off. So everything looked exactly the same except for you couldn't see the final row or the first row of tiles. 2D tiles. So, yeah, I had to basically just check. There was just a little checkbox somewhere in the settings that said, like, force users to use these settings. So, if anyone on a 16:10 monitor played it, it would just force it to be 16, it would force the game to just have bars on the top and bottom so that you can see the whole screen. When it came to my Left Only Baloney game, I didn't have to do that because it's a 3D game and all my UI stuff. I went with a hyper minimalist UI. I didn't have to worry about that kind of thing mostly, but I believe I did force it to be. I still forced it so that you could only choose between 16:9 resolutions and 16:10 resolutions, because 16:9 and 16:10 both would fit all the UI perfectly fine on them. So anyone with those kinds of resolution options could play it. I did not support ultra wide. Stream Left Only Baloney right now. I mean, I could. Do I still have it on my desktop? I do. And see, I kept it so that if you play in 16:10, basically just this little edge bit gets cut off, and so it has no effect on the menu, basically. If I go credits, and nothing on here would get cut off. And when you're actually in the game, yep. When you're actually in the game, that tiny bit of it, like a little edge of the screen, doesn't really matter because you don't really need it, and there's no real UI other than the dot in the middle of the screen for where you're clicking, and the text that shows up like this. No. This game is so dumb. I love it. I love this game, but it's so dumb. Anyway, back to Reddit. Phony cases. Oh god, what are these? These are horrifying. Silly cases bought from AliExpress.
Huge parcel. That's because the next two cases are just quite ridiculous that I just don't have many words to say about these, so it's probably better if I just show them to you. Without further ado, these cases both cost $7 each. When I say case, I say case very loosely, because they're not cases. These are not even close to cases. This is what you would call extremely silly novelties. What is this, you say? I don't know. It's a fucking machete.
Oh my god.
Oh my god, how stupid. Look at this stupid thing. It's a proper meat cleaver, not a machete. It's a meat cleaver. The handle's actually plastic, it's not rubber. And this is all just plastic. It's all a plastic mold that they've just stuck an iPhone XS Max case on there and went problem solved. That's actually not a bad fit, I'll admit. That's not
I like
a bad
that you
fit,
can hold your phone
holy
with a
crap,
handle.
The thing just... That's gonna snap. At least you have a handle to use your phone now.
Yeah.
You can just go, hey, yeah, I'm just using my phone with one hand. Or if you want to alternatively watch it on the go, try pulling this out on a train, bus, or an aeroplane and just say that you're watching the latest edition of MasterChef and they see you holding a meat cleaver. If that wasn't there, that's a pretty decent looking weapon right there. It even has a little like keychain there too, just in case you wanted to put it in your pocket and have your keys hanging off it. You know, it would actually cause a bit of damage with the phone in it if you slammed it down. I mean, just to have as a fake meat cleaver is pretty cool, but you'd probably want to stick with like a less heavier iPhone instead of a XS Max to get a more lighter feeling with this if you wanted to wave this around, because I just have a feeling if you started waving this around, this would just snap and that would be the end of it. Hey, I just found another use for it. It's like a stabilizer and to film, so you just hold it like this and just film and go, yep, dun, 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 dun. And the case actually is quite a snug fit.
Oh god.
Very snug. Don't worry, it gets worse from here. Because the next one... Oh, this is so stupid. Put the iPhone in. God, it really fits.
But why?
Why does this exist? It's a fucking frying pan iPhone XS case. Once again, it's probably going to snap because that's very cheap plastic that they put there. It's all made of plastic. The case is rubber. Would be a funny prank to pull on someone. Be just like, yeah, hang on, I'm just cooking on my phone, and then you put it that way, and they're like, oh, what are you doing? Oh, why is it on the stove? Oh no. Once again, you could also use this as a stabilizer to film if you wanted to. You could also use this now as a weapon, but I probably would highly suggest not to. It's not as impressive as the meat cleaver. If you wanted to film yourself eating as well, you could have a burger right on there and film. You could also multitask with this. If you got a burger, you could have the burger there, quickly flip your phone around, do what you've got to do, then go back and then continue eating. So you could use this as a dinner plate if you wanted to. And there was actually some other designs that had like an egg on there too. The meat cleaver is a little more practical than this. You wouldn't be able to put this in your pocket, I don't think. I mean, you could put it in your purse if you wanted to and just whip it out and be like, yep, just checking the time. Now we move on to the most ridiculous ones of all time that made me laugh for about 5 minutes straight on stream. Are you ready for this one? You better be, because here they are. Both of these cases cost $14 each. I hope they are worth it. As I said, I laughed for about 5 minutes on stream when I first seen these. Well, I guess I prepare myself for laughter again. Okay, I don't want to turn them over. The new case, case metal accessories, jelly case, ultra slim and custom fit, screen protector, ultra thin and optically cleat without blocking your view. Okay, that makes sense.
You can see the hair
bag,
sticking out of the
packing is
top.
made of PVC waterproof material. You get 3-in-1 with this. This is still a random mini review. The laughing doesn't count towards the runtime.
Again.
They're just the most dumbest things ever.
Why?
The new case. The new case. The fucking derpiest thing ever. Hello. What the fuck?
The mouth isn't even attached to the like body of it. It's in the
Once
hair.
again, it's just the shittiest iPhone case that has been hot glued to this thing, this abomination. Let us put the iPhone into the case. So now the iPhone's in.
Oh, the eye's not even attached either. It's just stuck to the hair.
You can make it more derpy if you want. I thought you could remove these, but no, they're stuck down quite considerably. You're also probably wondering about the camera. It's alright, just give our friend a little bit of a hairdo.
Yeah, there is a hole there.
Hang on.
You
We'll
just have
find
to
it.
part
We'll
the
get in
hair.
there. There you go. Give you a bit of a Bieber hairdo. There you go, mate. Let me try the other one. They were even more derpier in the listing, I swear. That's my face whenever I see another welcome device, that's for sure. Let's stick iPhone in purple case. You know, I never thought the day that I'd be sitting at my desk, gently patting away the hair on the back of a fucking ridiculous looking, stupid, derpy case that's found on AliExpress for $14, trying to reveal the camera lens that's got an iPhone case stuck in the back of it. When I die, I will be remembered as looking at these two fantastic cases that were found on AliExpress. Who the hell is going to want to have one of these as their case? It would just fall out of your hands so easy. Guess you could style their hairdos if you wanted to. Like, he's got more of a, you know, emo sort of look. This one's got more of a punk rock sort of, LaRue sort of hairdo.
Alright, that's enough. Why? Why do these exist? TF2 bots try their best to no clip. Oh, this is Pin Splash. Oh god. Oh god, they're not happy about it. The bots are not happy about it.
Control point is being captured.
I'm amazed they managed to get a kill. Do bots not realize they're out of ammo? Just in the wall. Oh no. What's he doing?
Alert. The control point is being contested.
I'm guessing, like, changes in elevation are really tough for them. Because normally the way their programming works, they normally just hold forward or backwards or left or right to change, you know, to move up and down ladders and stairs.
Thank you for your
and things
donation.
like that. Oh, hey, thank you, Fish, for the $30 donation. Rorius Game Jam 2023. It'll be sometime. Like, I wanted to do it. I want to do one earlier in the year. I actually want to do multiple this year, but the first one will probably be sort of early this year sometime. Yeah, the ones who have managed to find themselves sort of approximately on the ground of the first floor, like, they can kind of move around okay. But when moving up and down staircases, they don't normally have to move up or down. They automatically move up or down, so their movement it'd be very confused. The only reason they ever move up and down is because they angle up or down, and then the forward and backwards become like this. Starts tomorrow. No, I will announce it. But yeah. Why didn't that donation come up on the chat? It's weird that donation that came through just now. It didn't come through the live chat. You donate through the better donation method. Yes. Thank you, Fish. I really appreciate that. Actually, that is something that should be said. Just to interrupt. Streamlabs, yeah. Just to interrupt. I should mention, yes, that is better. That is better. I will get it more immediately. I will get access to it more immediately. But also, I get more of it. YouTube recently updated their partner service program, and it is almost now... I can't believe there's not more people talking about it, because when I read through the terms and conditions for monetization and stuff like that, it didn't mention direct donations, but things like the memberships and any ad revenue that you make on YouTube now is the YouTuber gets 55% of whatever that is. I didn't see, or I missed. I either didn't see or missed, or they didn't include what the donations were going to be. But traditionally, it's always been that YouTube takes about a 30 or a 40% cut. So it might have increased to they take a 45% cut now. So we get 55% of whatever you donate. But donating through Streamlabs, the only people who get a cut are PayPal. PayPal gets a 5% cut. No. Depends. It depends on how much it is. Streamlabs takes nothing from the donation. PayPal takes a deduction when you withdraw money from PayPal. So, anyone wanting to donate through Streamlabs in the future, because it is significantly better for me. Steam takes 30. Yeah, 30%. Yeah. That's just it. Like 30 to 40% I thought was, well, like 30% I thought was like more industry standard. But YouTube, I mean, when it comes to ad revenue, I understand it. It's like there isn't really a set amount that they should or have been said to share. One second, I'm getting a call. Yeah, my phone call sound is the Portal radio sound, which means that when I hear the Portal radio sound in games or in videos, I have a brief moment of like, I mean, it's like, oh my god, my phone's ringing, but then I'm like, oh wait, it's in the game, it's okay. I have ruined the Portal radio sound for myself because I've used it for years for my phone call sound. Yeah. Hold on, I read lips. He's saying Rorius Game Jam 23 starts in 2 days. Have I heard the uncompressed version? I don't think so. I don't recall. But yeah, so just for again, just to reiterate once more, for anyone who is considering donating and stuff like that, join as a member if you want to get the like benefits of being a member. But if you want to donate money to me, whatever, if you just want to donate and you have no intention of getting like products back or like anything like that, Streamlabs is the way to go. Because Streamlabs takes no cut, and it goes straight through PayPal. So they take so PayPal takes a small cut, but it's insignificant compared to like PayPal might take like $1 or $2 from a $50 donation, you know. Whereas YouTube will take like $25 of that $50 donation. YouTube takes 100% of that. $50 of the $50 donation, yeah. But yeah. Now I do want us to do a game jam soon. Probably it'll probably end up being in like March. The first game jam. Maybe I'll try and do it early March. But it'll probably be in March sometime. That's when I do the first game jam. Because yeah, it's around my birthday. It'll be an interesting, fun time. You'll be in Iceland by then. Ah, I see. Yeah. That's neat. That's really neat. What if someone donates $1 million to you? What will YouTube do about that? I don't know if YouTube are willing to handle a transaction that large, but YouTube would take like $450,000 of that. So yeah, do not donate $1 million through YouTube, through Super Chat. Because YouTube will take the majority of that. Money laundering, yeah. That's it. You try and donate $1 million to someone through YouTube or whatever, it will get refused. They will not allow it. Funding terrorist organization, yeah. Even donations of like $5,000 would probably be scrutinized heavily. Unless you're donating through like a charity system. You can probably donate through Streamlabs. Now, there's certain amounts that immediately get flagged by banks. And it's not even up to YouTube or Google or whoever, really. It's up to whatever bank you're paying through. If you're spending more than a certain amount of money all at once, you have to clear it with your bank usually. And again, it will be interrogated. But then also, yes, YouTube itself is probably like, we don't want to do that. Yeah, so you'll have to be like, $1 million seems reasonable. Just don't take any money from it. Yes, yes. I have a feeling it'll be like more than $2,000 or $3,000. It depends on the currency, of course. Here in New Zealand, it's probably more like 5,000. That would get flagged by a bank for a one-time purchase. Oh, pardon me. Sorry, my nose is a little horrible. Especially if you're doing an online purchase, $5,000. They'd be like, yeah, they'd suspend the payment, and they'd call you, being like, "Hey, we have a record that you've just tried to spend $5,000 on something. Is that you?" And if it is you, then they might clear it. Otherwise, they might be like, "I'm sorry, we can't do that with this kind of account that you have." My friend moved from Sweden to Italy and had his bank account shut down when he tried to transfer his money. Yes, yeah, see, like, shit like that. You either have to do it in small amounts over time, or you have to very specifically clear it with your account, with your bank. You have to, like, contact your bank, say, like, it sometimes requires that you be in there in person, but you have to contact your bank, say, like, this is what's happening, I'm planning to move, this is what I need to do. I need to transfer. And actually, what they should have probably done is got their bank in Italy to, deal with that for them. Because a lot of banks are willing to communicate with each other and do that kind of stuff on your behalf. Still requires a lot of, like, verification and, like, I imagine in a lot of cases, in-person verification, identification, and stuff like that, for that kind of thing to happen. But yeah, donates $1 million to Banana Rorius to feel well. Just make sure to do it through Streamlabs. Back to the no-clip madness. I love how what I love about this is how little they actually utilize the no clip, because they have no idea what's going on. It's like, this is odd. This is unusual behavior that the bots don't expect to happen. So they're just like, what's happening? And it looks like a heavy will never go to seek ammo. They'll just sit there, firing nothing endlessly. Mr. Bank, I assure you that there is a prince from Nigeria called Rorius, and if I transfer him $500, he will then later transfer me $100,000. Oh my god. Are the enemy also all spies?
2, 1.
How did he die?
Why is that cart not moving?
I'm amazed they're pushing the cart. Such madness. Yeah, so the way it works is that because of the way that no-clip works. Oh, he got stuck, did he? Confused. Like once you switch to no-clip, the way you move up and down is by looking up or looking down and holding forward or backward. So the only ways they actually move up and down are by aiming at someone who's higher than them or lower than them. and then just the natural backwards and forwards movements causes them to change in elevation. So, like, again, whenever they come across stairs, it like throws them completely, because normally all they have to do is hold forwards, but because there's nothing that's forcing them down, they just are like, like, what do I do? No, this, yeah, crouching and jumping doesn't change your elevation. Not in no-clip mode, at least. So, yeah, the only ways that they change in elevation is by looking at the enemy who's in a different elevation. They'll never naturally change elevation. See, these guys at the stairs, they're like trying to go up the stairs, but they can't, because I'm assuming basically the way it would work is if we go back to that scene, like their nodes for movement, they'll have like dots. There'll be like a dot here, a dot here, a dot here for moving up the stairs, and then it, the dots increment up here. But in their programming, these dots that are going up the stairs here, they don't have any data that says to the bots that they need to change in elevation, because otherwise what would probably end up happening, those dots that go up the staircase, they wouldn't tell the bots to actively try and change elevation, because the stairs does it for them. The gravity and the collision that happens with physics does the change in elevation for them. So if for instance you try to make them like jump to change, to change their height, all bots every time they go to staircases would constantly try and jump up the staircase, and it would look really strange. So all they would do in this context is move towards the stairs, towards the next point in their points of movement. But because they're in no clip, they phase into the staircase, and so then from them, the nearest possible node to move to is still on the staircase, but now it's behind them because they've moved past it. So they go backwards, and then they're like, okay, now you move past it again. It's in front of you. Move forwards, phase through the stairs, and so they end up in this like cycle of spiral of just going like this, endlessly trying to get to that node that's up in elevation. But yeah, it's like they just can't understand that until an enemy gets to the top of the stairs somehow. If an enemy manages to make their way to the top of the stairs, suddenly their target is above them. They start aiming up to the target, and now any movement that they make to get towards the enemy or away from the enemy is now changing their elevation up and down because they're aiming up. So any like backing off from the enemy will cause them to go down in elevation, and that's how you end up with characters under the map and stuff like that, because they've been trying to avoid an enemy that's above them. Oh, it's so fascinating. See, anything that's on like the level ground that you start on, it'll be fine because there's no need to change an elevation. But as soon as characters start changing an elevation, you get weird like darting up and down in movement. As soon as there's a character above or below you. Yeah. Like a scout tries to jump to avoid the enemy or something. Or they just get too close to the enemy, or too close to the point where they start moving their head up and down. What if all the CPUs got banned trying to use accent or something? Yeah. Yes, flying enemy is definitely more complicated. Yeah, exactly. Like if you look at the way that NPCs work in the source engine, in Hammer, in like a map editor, the navigation system for bots, like the navigation system, for instance, for like your Left 4 Dead zombies, it's so much more basic, because it's basically just, you just have to map out surfaces, the floor surfaces, and there's a system basically built in to almost do that for you. Because all you need to do is you basically create a navigation web that is like all the floor locations, everywhere that's considered floor, and you can like delete and add pieces that are considered floor. And then by default, they'll all be interconnected, and you can just change connectivity between certain tiles. Like if a tile is literally next to another tile, it is considered connected and able to be moved between. But if one is like, if it's separated, it's initially considered not able to be moved between. But you can add special information to those nodes to say that like maybe the character can jump between these two different spaces. So you end up with this web of like little squares and lines that makes the navigation really like quite simple, relatively speaking. However, when it comes to flying enemies, the best you can really do is in Half-Life 2, if you with the like city scanners, is you just create like places that are like, these are places that the flying thing should try and aim to fly to. And once it's outside of that sort of zone of being able to fly there, you've got to have a real strong foundation of like this is the height you want, there's an optimal height above a ground surface. You kind of still need all the floor information, but now you need to reference it for a flying object that can be certain different elevations above the floor and stuff like that. Yeah, it is, depending on how you implement it, it's definitely can be more or less complicated. But if you want it to be any good, it has to be way more complicated than the floor navigation systems. Yeah, flying enemies.
Mission ends in 10 seconds.
What a hassle. What a nightmare.
5, 4.
Well, yeah, interesting. And then we've got Damn You, Xenia. Oh dear. What the hell is Xenia? The DS HID mini controller driver was apparently causing this problem. Fixed now? Oh. Strange. Anyway, what happens when Half-Life 2 updates too fast? Oh, I think I saw this. Did I see this already? I did. I've already liked it. This was fascinating to see. I'll watch a little bit of it, just to show off the weirdness.
Help me! Stop! We didn't do anything!
It's mostly physics.
You better run. There's nothing else you can do here.
It's mostly the physics engine that freaks out. A blue screen of death screensaver, yeah. It would seem that the way that physics is handled, the tick rate determines like many things to do with physics, like how when something collides with something, it's like how many ticks it spends like colliding with that object. Depends on how much velocity it gets off of that object, something like that. I'm not sure exactly what's going on here in terms of the tick rate, but it's causing it to all physics objects that are suddenly moving. Oh yeah, that's right. It completely breaks barnacles. Oh, also, it takes ages. It takes ages for barnacles to, like, stick their tongue out. That's what's so fascinating about it. It's like, clearly there's a bunch of stuff that's, like, that time-wise is based on the ticks of the game. The physics ticks. Yeah, objects don't float anymore. They sink. The other thing I can think of with this is that it's like gravity is being applied via the ticks, but like the flotation isn't. The method it uses to make objects float is not directly bound by ticks, but the sinking is. It's, yeah, I don't know. Also, yeah, the bullets fired. It fires them out so fast. Oh, C digits. Yep. Yeah, there's only about 50 minutes left in the stream anyway. But yeah. Thank you for joining us. Oh. Makes it spin as fast as it would if it was, yeah, turned on. Gravity gun turns room into blender. Yeah, yeah. Oh, if I recall correctly, this just completely goes wild. Well, firstly, yeah, it takes ages to line up. But yeah, immediately upon landing and you hop out, it just goes so wild that chances of death are high. Something to do with the way that, because that buggy wants to be wheels down. So something to do with that system it uses to like try and get itself to land wheels down just completely breaks. Also, yeah, the ticks make it completely broken. Oh, hey, really bad gamer. What's happening? I think he's charging up a shot. Never mind.
Stay with me, Freeman.
What's happening? What's happening over here? Imagine this in VR, yeah. Oh, classic. Oh. Oh god. Yeah. Gravity. Sorry, grenades. Grenades become like, bouncy, bouncy grenades. Let's see if Entry 02's Jeff King buff. Ah. You don't have to. This is VR mod for free. Yeah, yeah. Very true. Oh dear, this is gonna be bad. Slowly getting slapped to death by the shovel. Yeah. Anyway, yeah. I meant to only watch a bit of that, but it's funny, so we watched the whole thing. Anyway, meet the Mental Gen. Oh my god, this is a classic. This is a classic meme. Mental Gen.
Hey, it's good to see you.
I thought you gave up smoking for good.
I did give up smoking for good.
I smoke for evil.
Now
now.
I smoke for evil.
Mental Gen?
Mental Gen.
Tell me, did anyone happen to kill a red spy on the way here? No?
Yeah, gotcha. Jeez, Red.
Yeah, the spy with 1,000,000 cigarettes in his mouth. Mental Gen. That's a classic. Oh, damn. Alright, Snow Day. We don't get snow here. It's sad times. We don't get snow here. Not in Auckland, at least. You get it in other parts of New Zealand, but not in Auckland. Yeah. I like this low res video. Yes, you do. I'm making the weather to be snowy for your area. Looks pretty sunny out there to me. Yeah, it looks like a beautiful sunny day out there. I wouldn't trust to eat ice or eat snow. You don't know where it's necessarily come from, You don't necessarily know what has been on it or around it, or in it. Merry Christmas, or else. Fireboy has some ability to control the weather. That's very true. That's very true, Andy. I have a very romanticized idea of what snow is like, but it is nice to not have to, like, penguin walk my way down the street because it's icy, and if you do anything more than just place your feet down, you slide. That's nice. That's nice to not have to worry about that. Oh, someone's at the door. 1 second. Hold up, guys. Sorry about that. My nephew has a chess room. Chess room. My nephew is over he's here for the day, but also to stay the night at my parents' house. So they they came to say hello. Anyway, I wonder, where are they?
Every December, when the snow hits the ground and the Christmas music starts playing
Snow
on
is
the
nice, but the
radio,
roads are always ice.
you know it's time
Exactly,
for the
yeah.
holiday traditions to come out in full
Rain and
swing.
snow.
Some people like to go out and chop down their own tree to decorate, or if you're like me, you finally build that Halloween gingerbread house that's been sitting around since October. But something that everyone can enjoy during this time of year is watching all the Christmas specials that air on TV throughout the month. December is
Rorius
the only
is fading
time
to
of
the
year
back
when you
rooms.
can
Oh
catch them
no.
all airing, so it feels more magical watching them like this. Growing up, we watched a
I
lot
still
of
ride my
Christmas
bike 'cause I'm
specials
a
throughout the holiday
badass.
season, like A Charlie Brown Christmas and the animated How the Grinch Stole Christmas that was co-produced by Chuck Jones. But aside from these, there have always been a separate few that have stood out, even all these years later, for their creativity, nostalgia, and of course, visual quality. And those are the Rankin Bass specials. Even if you're not familiar with the name of the company that made them, I'll bet there's a pretty good chance you've seen their iconic Rudolph production before, as it's been aired on TV.
I've not seen
every
this
year
myself,
since
but
its
I've
release in
seen it
1964.
referenced in other things.
But they made a lot of other iconic
Just long
specials
videos,
too,
yeah.
including
Oh,
Santa Claus's
I can't watch this whole video. Thank you for pointing that out, actually. I can't watch this whole video. We'll just watch some of it.
Coming to Town and The Year Without a Santa Claus. While I still love these specials as an adult, it's especially fun to rewatch them with a better understanding of animation and learn how Rankin Bass were able to make such a special feeling. In fact, a large portion of that is attributed to the stop-motion character puppets themselves, and how they were able to feel so alive in front of the camera. Their movement can be described as something magical, a technique fittingly called animagic. However, all the years and even decades that have passed since the specials were created, it's resulted in a lot of forgotten history surrounding their production, including the fate of the puppets themselves, an important piece of television and Christmas history.
Oh god.
Surprisingly, there isn't a lot of discussion about the Rankin Bass Christmas specials online, so unless you grew up with them like I did, there's a chance the younger generation might not be familiar with them. Actually, Rankin Bass didn't just make Christmas specials, but a whole variety of seasonal content, some of which is really obscure. The company was founded by Arthur Rankin Jr.
Anyway, yeah, if you want to find out more, find out where these things have gone, you can check out the video for yourself. Yeah, it is 20 minutes, so I shouldn't watch the whole thing. But yeah, no, these videos, these movies, I've seen them referenced in other stuff, but I've never seen them myself. They're a little bit before my time. Alright, 30 Years of Thomas and Friends crashes. Such a violent show. This reminds me of, recently I watched a Tomscar video that was a follow-up to a previous Tomscar video that was about, the one that I watched that was recent, that was about this like, boat-related show that looks a lot like Thomas the Tank Engine. But also he did a video that was on, like, Thomas the Tank Engine and, like, shit that happens in Thomas. Some kind of screwed up, like, kind of weird and messed up shit happens. His eyes were all dazed. Oh God.
Too late. He banged the trucks hard into the books. Toby, stop.
Wait, I know this song. The song they're playing is like a sped up remix version of another song. It's sometimes featured in SpongeBob. Some of these I'm like, how did it end up in this context? Indiana Jones. in the 2000s, once they reached 2000, they changed the graphical style away from the puppets to CG stuff.
What a tower.
Then again, this looks like it's gone back to puppets again.
Duck shouted, but it was too late. Ow.
Yeah, no, that's definitely back to puppets again. Interesting. So, how'd you say before that it did snow before in Auckland? Yes. Back in... Yeah, it was like around 2013. It snowed in the city. I wasn't in the city, unfortunately, so I didn't get to see it myself. But it was like an unprecedented snowfall in the city. But, like... When I say it snowed in the city, the snow was like a literal millimeter or two of snow on the surface of the road. Like it made the floor look kind of white, and that's it. There's no depth to it. There's no body to it. It was a very light snow, but that was unheard of. Like I've never experienced snow in person in Auckland before. In my entire life living here. I've experienced snow in other parts of New Zealand, but never in Auckland. Yeah. Is Thomas and Friends trying to be Kool-Aid Man? You're bursting through walls and shit. Or is Kool-Aid Man trying to be like Thomas and Friends? I think, I have a feeling Kool-Aid Man is older than Thomas. So... You guys be the judge of that. Oh God.
Deep snow. Puffed into a big pile of snow.
Oh my god.
Extra big shot. Paint pots flew into
The fact that half these carts that are like crashing into the back of trains and then exploding, they've got faces on them. Those trailer pieces heckin' died. 1,000,000 feet. Oh no. That would be devastating to the dog.
and they all came off the track and the carriage crashed. Still, it was too late.
Again, I apologize for yawning all the time. I must have... I didn't get a very good sleep last night. So I'm all yawny.
The trucks bumped into the back of Thomas.
I love the faces on the train. Wait. I love that face. Oh.
Trucks bumped into the back of Thomas. And suddenly, the roof collapsed. No. His flatbed biffed into the sidings, the truck very hard. Bed bumped into the air. The bed splash. Naeus raced right off the track. Truck.
Okay. That's probably enough. Probably seen enough, but yeah. 30 years of... Just the fact that Thomas the Tank Engine's been going for 30 years. Let alone that there's 30 years of crashes. Which is why it's such a violent show. Yeah, there's some stuff that happens in... Like, there's that famously... That engine that gets bricked up inside a like, train tunnel as, like, a punishment for not wanting to come out of the train tunnel. It's fucked up. Steam reveals desktop big picture mode update. Oh. Not familiar with this.
Steam's big picture mode has been around for a while now. But the thing is, no one really uses it due to its extremely old school and basic UI. Thankfully though, the company's now looking to give it a big makeover and bring it on par with the Steam Deck's interface. In today's video, we're going to talk about the platform's new update and Valve's hardware journey toward the Steam Deck. So keep watching. First off, Steam's big picture mode was a dud. Despite being the largest game distribution platform on PC, Steam has never looked good. Like, if you open up the app right this second and compare it to anything else, you'll realize just how outdated the UI is. And for newcomers, especially those switching over from a console, it can be really hard to navigate through. Then again, there's a reason why it's so successful. Sure, Epic's launcher of Battle.net may look more modern, but honestly, they're nowhere near as optimized or functional as Valve's platform.
That's the thing.
Sadly though, the same...
Steam might not be visually pleasing, like super visually pleasing, but they're functional to a T. Like, that's the original Steam from like 2004 was so just like hyper functional, and that's it. I like that. I like it being functional. I don't care for it to look flashy and beautiful as long as it freaking runs the games that I want it to run. As long as I can find my games easy enough, then I'm happy. Some of those other UIs like Uplay or the Epic Store, or even just a little bit the more modern versions of like Battle.net, I don't like them. Sometimes I'm like, where the fuck are my games? How do I find my games? I think the EA, what used to be Origin, but now the EA app, I was like, where the hell do I find my actual game library? And if you have to ask that question, that's not a good
can't be said for its big picture mode that's clunky and doesn't make much sense design-wise. What's more, even the intended users who play on a TV with a controller don't use it, and
Steam,
instead, you've seen portable keyboard-mice combos making their way to the living room. All of that's about to change very soon though, as the company's now looking to finally bring a slew of changes to the big picture mode that'll not only make it easier to use, but also make it look like Steam Deck's UI. Now, the deck, of course, has a very console-like UI, and some might even compare it to the Nintendo Switch, and that in and of itself is great news. Obviously, you could argue that it's still an evolution of the already existing big picture interface. Still, just adding that extra pizzazz and those colors can make a ton of difference to the end user experience. Up next, what's included in the new update? If you've been a big picture user, then we applaud you, because that mode hasn't aged well at all over the years. Seriously though, none of the newer Steam features have been implemented into it. It's basically remained untouched for, what, 5 to 6 years? Like, this thing's been sitting around collecting dust for a long time, which means that not only is it behind in terms of design, but also its functionality. So, bringing it on par with the modernized Steam Deck UI actually means a lot more than just a visual rework. Universal search functionality, for instance, was a feature that, for some reason, didn't make it into the old big picture mode. What's more, the in-game overlay, or the system menu, was also just really bad and unusable. With the new update, however, Steam's looking to address all of these areas and make them look exactly like their handheld console. What's more, remember that horrible controller config menu? Thankfully, that's also going away. Other than that, we can expect a brand new home screen, a new quick access menu, and yes, finally, a usable Steam Store interface. Yeah, we know. No more scrambling around to find the game you want to buy. What a treat. Now, it's pretty wild that it's taken them this long to make these changes, especially after the community has basically given up after years of demands at this point. That said, at least they're doing it, right? Like, not even joking. This is perhaps the biggest Steam UI overhaul that we've seen in well over a decade. And we're all here for it. Not to mention the new update's release window. We're getting really close to the Christmas period. And you know what that means? Yep, Lord Gaben's gone into full Santa mode already. Seriously, the gifts keep on coming cause, apparently, we won't have to wait much longer to get our hands on the latest Steam update. As a matter of fact, it's already out of the oven, and users who opt into the beta can get their hands on it right this second. You've got to remember though, this is still meant to be a test version of the new UI, which means some of these features are still going to be rough around the edges. Also, while Valve says that it's polished enough to gather community feedback, it's not quite ready for a full release just yet. Of course, anyone can sign up for the beta and start using it, but again, it's going to be your job to give feedback through the platform's forums and make it better for everyone else. So, choose wisely. Now, as far as the final release is concerned, there's no official word on it right now. Having said that, judging by how fast Steam updates usually are, we can expect it to drop within the next couple of months. Coming up, why did Valve update the big picture mode? Alright, so even though it's pretty much impossible to see these changes as anything but a positive, there's still a strange question mark looming over them. The big picture mode's been dormant for such a long time that it's confusing to even think why a company like Valve would even bother to update it. Well, to answer that, we're gonna have to dig a bit deeper and see why this mode is relevant in the modern day. The thing is, the big picture mode was largely made to serve as a Steam Machine UI. But, of course, since those things were so expensive, the adoption rate was incredibly low. Plus, there aren't many PC users out there who play on a big TV with a controller, which basically meant that this mode was doomed from the start. The emergence of Steam Deck, on the other hand, has changed the game now, as not only is it more accessible, but it's also just an incredible piece of hardware. And guess what? They've also just launched a brand new dock that'll essentially turn it into a PC version of the Switch. Now, you can bet that a lot of people are gonna dock it onto their TVs and play it that way. So it's very important for a company like Valve to have a unified experience on the same screen, whether you're using a PC or a Steam Deck. That said, we're sure things won't be as seamless as that. But hey, one can hope, right? Let's look at Valve's failed hardware attempts before Steam Deck now. The Steam Deck has been a massive success for Valve, and for good reason too. It's built like a brick, has intuitive controls, and, of course, is super powerful. Like, imagine being able to play Elden Ring or Cyberpunk on a handheld that doesn't overheat or break apart. Valve didn't get here without any hurdles though. In fact, most of its previous hardware attempts ended up being pretty bad. So perhaps it's time to go down memory lane and see how bad they were, starting with the Steam Machine. This was Valve's first foray into the console market back in 2013, as it wanted to compete against the newly released Xbox One and PlayStation 4. Internally though, these were just small PCs. Not only did they run on the company's Steam OS, but they were made in collab with other hardware companies like Alienware, Origin, or even Gigabyte. That ended up being the reason for its downfall though, because there were just too many variants across different retailers. Plus, the prices started from $500 and went all the way to $5,000, depending on your spec. And as we've learned over the past few years, your average console consumer doesn't like the hassle of speccing out their machine. Oh, and then there was also no option for streaming services other than Netflix, making it a definitively worse purchase than an Xbox or a PlayStation. Next up, we've got the Steam controller. Now, while the Steam machine was a bit of a weird thing in and of
I really
itself,
wanted to try
it
the
also
Steam
shipped with
controller.
its own controller called the Steam controller. Designed for
But
people who are
I never got my
comfortable with
hands
both
on it.
controllers and mouse and keyboard,
And they no longer
these were
exist,
perhaps
so.
a bit ahead of their time.
Maybe I
They
could
had
get it from
2
Trade Me.
trackpads, a single analog stick, and 14 different buttons. Admittedly, the single stick was a weird choice, and probably contributed to the product's failure. But it's pretty fascinating to see how Valve has brought a lot of the same design philosophy over to the Steam Deck with its own touchpads and other controls. Finally, we have the Steam Link. This was also one of the devices launched in tandem with the Steam machine. But while it wasn't a console per se,
That's right,
it was
the
still
Steam
targeting
Link.
a similar audience by allowing users to stream
Yeah.
games to their TV. Obviously, these days, that's a pretty normal concept, especially with Xbox Cloud Gaming or Nvidia GeForce Now. Back then, however, it was a
Nothing's
totally
coming up
different
for Steam
landscape,
controller.
and most people didn't quite get the idea. Oh, and then there were the infrastructure limitations too, as most consumers didn't have the internet capabilities required for a smooth experience. As a result, the hardware was discontinued in 2018. That said, the idea still lived on in the form of an app that lets you stream games to your phone. That's a wrap for this video. Do you think that a modern-day Steam machine would be more successful in 2022? Let us know in the comments below.
I looked up Steam controller on New Zealand's eBay, essentially. Nothing's coming up. I'm curious though. Steam controller NZ. Oh, maybe if I put Valve Steam controller. Valve Steam controller. Nope. Yeah, nah. Nothing's coming up. Yeah, no. Nope, there doesn't seem to be any ability to. No one in New Zealand is selling a Steam controller. No shops sell it anymore. Etsy. What the? Oh, display stand. Never mind. Oh, do they still have it on Amazon? We don't actually have Amazon here, but Amazon does ship to here. Yeah, yeah. Oh, ow. That price, though. Anyway, yeah, I never managed to get my hands on, why is Jacksepticeye in this picture, in this thumbnail? I never managed to get my hands on a Steam controller, but I would love to try it. Yeah, I look forward to seeing, because they mentioned the idea that the Valve is going to make a new Steam controller, essentially, or a new controller for future stuff. I'm really curious as to see what they do with the new controller. Because, yeah, I thought the Steam controller looked really interesting. I just could never buy it because they didn't sell it directly in New Zealand.
No.
Oh, it's this guy again.
No music.
The stop
We sit
sign
in
symbol.
silence for this
Yeah.
one. This absolute waste of time. It's gonna sound exactly like you think, guys. It's just a big flat sheet of aluminium with a giant sticker on it that says stop. This is literally just an old stop sign with a hole
Yeah.
drilled in it. And now we're gonna compare it to like an actual instrument, my K-Dark Ride, right? And then that's it. I got nothing left to say to you. Why are you still watching?
Oh, this guy lives in Adelaide. Okay, we get the point. That's neat. I like weird DIY shit like that. They ran out of budget. Oh. This is made on the Nintendo 64.
All right. Let's go.
Oh my god. Okay.
Not sure if you know who I am, but I'm about to rule the world.
Wow, yay.
But there's one problem. There's a human.
I don't know if I've actually
has a
seen
mustache
this version of the
just
trailer.
like
Like the one that they're basing
You think
this
I know
on.
every human being with a mustache wearing an identical outfit with a hat with the letter of his first name on it? Because I don't.
Bowser is coming. Together, we are going to stop that monster.
How? Look at us. We're adorable.
Oh, I got this. No problem.
Yes! Come on, Mario! Our big adventure begins now! Ah! Get it off! Get it off! Get it off!
There's a huge universe out there with a lot of galaxies. They're all counting on us. No pressure.
The fucking sound design and the choice of wording and stuff like that in this trailer is such a movie trailer. It's like every other trailer that that's ever been made before. That was really good, like demake of the trailer. But the freaking sound design and like the wording and stuff like that, the way that they frame certain pieces of the story, it's so generic. It's like every other movie trailer that's ever been made ever. It's the same exact like cadence, if you will. I was gonna say we're not too far from the top, but we are running out of time. So we'll just have to make do. Well, we have to just see how far we get. Let's find out next time on Dragon Ball Z. Windows 64. This is Windows 32. How not to implement the POSIX standard. Featuring Windows NT.
There are many tales of underhanded dealings in the technology world, but there are only a few as egregious as what I'm about to tell you. This is the story of how Microsoft made a mockery of government agencies, standards compliance, and more. Strap yourself in, folks. We're going to talk about the POSIX subsystem for Windows. What is the POSIX subsystem? Well, I guess you could call it a predecessor to the modern-day Windows subsystem for Linux. On paper, it was intended as a way to provide compatibility for porting Unix applications to Windows NT, but in practice, well, it really existed to let Microsoft bid on contracts for the US federal government. As I'm going to show, the POSIX subsystem can barely run the VI editor, let alone do anything more complex. Some time ago, I did a fairly in-depth exploration of the subsystem on Twitter. This was then followed up by a live stream which covered everything in depth. Now, we're once again going to embrace NCommander in real time, where we take that live stream, cut it down with a new voiceover and footage, and then release it as a standalone video. So, where do we begin this intrepid adventure? Well, at the beginning, of course, with installing Windows. For this stream, I went with Windows NT 4, Service Pack 6, and Internet Explorer 4, just so I would have active desktop. My original research thread, should you be interested, used NT 3.1, but that's really irritating to work with. Furthermore, pretty much everything is the same between both NT 3.1 and NT 4 as far as the POSIX subsystem goes, so for the dredges of sanity I have left, I might as well use the nicer environment. Anyway, with that backstory aside, let me talk a bit about the purpose of POSIX and specifically the FIPS standards. FIPS, which stands for Federal Information Processing Standards, are a set of documents published by the US federal government. The easiest way I can describe them is that they designate the requirements a computer must adhere to be considered usable for government work. Probably the most well-known of these is FIPS 140, which covers data encryption. For a system to be eligible for use in government, and notably get that very sweet US federal government money, it must meet several of these FIPS standards. The relevant one for this discussion is FIPS 151, which defines that a computer must support POSIX, which is a standard set of programming interfaces and is, more or less, a codification of the Unix C API, which had been in use since the 1980s. Microsoft, in what I can best describe as a blatant abuse of the rules, basically shipped the absolute minimum they were required to. For anyone trying to use this to run Unix applications on Windows NT, well, honestly, I'd say it's better to consider it non-existent. However, just to be perfectly clear, Windows NT is POSIX compliant, and Microsoft does cite the system passes the official NIST test suite. From what I've seen, I've got no reason to doubt this claim. It just so happens that most people expect a bit more than the absolute minimum. Just to drive this point home, let me quote from the official Windows NT Resource Kit book just to highlight how hamstrung POSIX applications actually are. POSIX applications have no direct access to the Win32 subsystem, such as memory map files, networking, graphics, or dynamic data exchange. In fact, POSIX applications are actually sandboxed and essentially run separate from everything else. It should also be noted that the POSIX environment only provides source code compatibility. There's no magic that lets you run pre-existing binaries here like the modern-day subsystem for Linux. Furthermore, in what is becoming a recurring theme, you only get access to approximately 110 C functions, which represent the absolute bare minimum needed to comply with the POSIX 0.1 specification. But well, while I could bore you with more dry technical mumbo-jumbo, let's just get right into it. After finishing up the Windows NT 4 installation, we're ready to begin. Out of the box, the system ships with a single POSIX utility known as PAX. It's a file archiver made by the IEEE that can compress and decompress TAR and CPIO archives. It's not a particularly useful tool in and of itself, but well, it's all you get. If you want something like,
worms,
I don't know, a shell, you're almost out of luck. In fact, to do anything resembling useful, you need quite a few other components, none of which were included out of the box. First, you need the Windows NT Resource Kit. Said kit either had to be purchased in the form of a book, or you could get it directly from Microsoft. As far as I can tell, you kinda had to know that the resource kit would have things like this, and it wasn't commonly seen. By and large, Microsoft resource kits were only meant to be used by system administrators, and I can't say they were commonly available. Assuming you could even obtain the resource kit, then after installation, you can find a folder with a compiled set of POSIX binaries with somewhat familiar names. The resource kit documents that you need to disable a feature called traverse checking, which is part of the security system, but it's only a piece of the puzzle. Some searching turned up an old TechNet article which documents setting up some system environment variables as well as providing a termcap file for VI. After doing this, it's possible to run sh.exe successfully, however, none of the other commands will work as expected. That's because they need to be renamed both to drop the .exe extension and to lowercase, since in a rather cursed bit of ancient voodoo, POSIX applications running under Windows are case sensitive. And yes, this applies to files created through the POSIX environment as well. This leads to some powers that might be considered unnatural. But I digress. Now, at this point, you can use sh and vi.
Did you say digress? Digress, isn't it? I know it's...
Digress.
Digress. Whatever.
But that's about it. There's only a small handful of commands included, so if you want to do anything past this point, you're going to need both a compiler and a copy of the system development kit. Let's start with the compiler, and well, I just installed Visual C++ 6.0 since it was the cheap and dirty solution to the problem. Unfortunately, it's not enough by itself. To actually build a POSIX mode binary, you still need more add-on bits. I suspect this was done so no one in their right mind would attempt to do what we are doing here now. To get past this point, you need to install the Windows NT software development kit, and this was not a piece of software most people had. By and large, compilers including Visual C++ came with a cut-down version of the STK, or some, like MingW, provide unofficial re-implementations of Microsoft copyrighted code. That means that the NT STK was generally only ever needed in cases where you had to write applications that took advantage of uncommon or rarely used APIs. The best comparison I can make is that it is essentially the unabridged tome of Eldritch lore for Win32 programming. You should never need it, and, well, if you do, I'm sorry. Anyway, like the resource kit, it either had to be ordered directly from Microsoft or was available as a CD in some MSDN subscriptions. That means to even get started with the POSIX environment, you needed two fairly rare and obscure pieces of software and a copy of Visual C++ on top of it. Do I really need to spell out how obscene this is? Assuming you have done all of the above correctly, you can now build POSIX mode software, starting with, you guessed it, the rest of the utilities. Microsoft, in an unusual move, shipped tools like Make and More in source code form only, and left only very scant hints on how to build it. Assuming you've arranged all the arcane runes correctly and patched the code to fix a few hard-coded options, you'll end up with a slightly less threadbare environment. This includes both cc.exe and devserver.exe. Which brings me to an important point. There are actually two ways to build POSIX mode applications. The first one is to use cc.exe, which wraps Visual C++ to have a more Unix-like command line interface. However, since POSIX applications can't normally interact with Windows ones directly, there's a fairly ugly kludge involved. Included with CC is devserver, which is a binary that looks for a given file, runs Visual C++ for you, and then returns the result. Getting devserver to work the first time was, to put it bluntly, an exercise in pain. Even when it...
Anyway, I think we've seen enough. Basically, to TLDR, Windows had to, in order to make a government compliant version of a computer. In order to make something that was a computer, an operating system that was government compliant, they had to implement the POSIX standard. And basically, they took the hardest shortcut they could possibly take, making it almost unusable, but technically compliant. Wow. The backrooms have been completely ruined. Oh, this is... We might use the rest of this stream time to watch this, because I bet this is going to be interesting. I do feel bad that we're not watching these latest ones, but this, I think, is going to say a lot of something that I have been saying for a while now. Let's have a look.
Hello guys, welcome to my Minecraft Let's Play. Today we are going to be
The backrooms have fundamentally been ruined. Here's how. As we all know, when something reaches fame on the internet, often it'll become saturated and used as a trend by people who don't understand the actual concept of it. Unfortunately, this is exactly what's happened to the backrooms in recent time. What all started as an incredibly creepy and unique 4chan post has ended in some weird sci-fi, overcomplicated mess. But how did this happen, and why are children obsessed with it now? Well, let's talk about that. I'm sure you're all familiar with the original Backrooms post, but if you're not, I'm gonna read it out. On May 14th of 2019, an anonymous user posts this picture. Text reading, if you're not careful and you no-clip out of reality,
sworn it came
areas, you'll end up in the backrooms, where it's nothing but the stink of old moist carpet, the madness of mono yellow, the endless background noise of fluorescent lights at maximum hum buzz, and approximately 600 million square miles of randomly segmented empty rooms to be trapped in. God save you if you hear something wandering around nearby, because it sure as hell has heard you.
It was 2019.
That was all we had, and it was perfect.
Oh, the picture, it predates that. The picture was from 2018, but this post is from 2019. And it's interesting because I actually thought that this was based off of something that happened in the original Stanley Parable mod. No, I didn't think it... I thought it was like... I knew it was 2010s sometime, but I thought it was like 2014 or something like that. I thought it was earlier than 2019.
The backrooms had maintained relative popularity on the internet, with people discussing them and making theories about them, and even some animations. It was still relatively obscure. The popularity was gaining, and there were more and more things being made about it. There were communities that started to form, talking about different things about the backrooms. For example, people were talking about ways to survive it, or to escape it, or different creatures that may live there, because the original post has an implication that something else is there with you. What works about the backrooms, just as a concept, is how open-ended it is, and how it uses an existential
So they would just slap at you with an
horror,
SCP? Exactly, that's just it.
Monsters
I really thought they were
the
backrooms was
idea of
around
just
much longer
out
than
of reality is something
2019.
so unnerving, yet so unique and well done. When fans of the backrooms started to expand the lore a bit, we got things like different tiers of the backrooms. At the time, I was really interested in everything that was going on and all these new developments, because people were taking other liminal space type pictures and kind of incorporating them into the backrooms lore, which I'll talk about later, but it was an interesting start. In 2020, one of the first backrooms found footage videos released, and this was by the YouTube channel Dinnerbone777. Here, just check this out. It is so simple, and it's so bare bones, but it's really, really cool. I remember seeing this when it came out, and I thought it was really, really creepy. And the digital camera effect in the CGI environment is done incredibly well. I don't know how they did it, but it really looks like they're there. If you read the description, it says that it was recorded on January 1st, 2000, which could lead it to being part of a Y2K sort of thing, but I don't know. The rest of the description just reads the original 4chan post. Dinnerbone released more Backrooms videos in the same style. The next one, Backrooms 2, released in September of 2020. This video shows someone finding a computer, turning it on, and then watching YouTube, which looks like it's probably from around 2015 to 17, just judging by the UI. They watch a video of someone singing, possibly? I don't know. It's hard to see. Some sort of karaoke thing. It then cuts to someone doing karaoke of the same song, although in a much more easy to understand way. Art was being made, icebergs were being made, more and more people were throwing their hat into the ring and being creative with this whole concept. It stayed relatively within the same realm of the original concept. Dinnerbone made a few more videos, and then
you see, in the original Stanley Parable mod, the original Stanley Parable mod came out in 2011. It was for Half-Life 2. And yeah, it says it does not actually require Half-Life 2 on PC, only Source SDK. On Mac, Half-Life 2 is required, yeah. There's a section in the original Stanley Parable mod that is like very similar to the Backrooms. So I've always thought that the Backrooms existed as of like early 2010s.
And more and more of these found footage backroom videos would come out. And usually they were really, really impressive. They all had either a digital or analog camera effect, which made it actually really believable looking in the CGI environments. So, needless to say, more and more people were becoming acquainted with the backrooms and finding interest in it. Some of the more popular liminal space pictures were turned into backroom levels, which is kind of cool to see as someone who's very into liminal space and that whole subgenre of pictures with weird core and trauma core and whatever else is there. I love that stuff, so it was kind of cool to see these iconic pictures being turned into backrooms levels and given their own descriptions and even monsters. For example, the partygoers. These were these odd little yellow characters with balloons that would try to lure you in with a party and a cake and then kill you. They inhabited the fun level, which is really just based off of this one liminal space picture that I've always been just fascinated in because of how unnerving and strange it is. You can tell these characters are knockoffs of popular characters like
SpongeBob and
Mickey Mouse, Homer Simpson, and then SpongeBob. But they're so completely off. Like, they don't even really try to make them look like the originals. It's so unnerving, and it's so creepy, and I love it. The inclusion of the partygoers and other creatures made it a little less scary in my opinion, despite them having creepy design.
For me, this is what I was hoping to hear, is that, for me, the moment they actually added something in the backrooms, the moment they added a monster, it completely killed it for me. It's supposed to be existential horror. By adding a monster in there, it turns it into just regular fear horror. The backrooms... Pardon me. The backrooms were at their best, in my opinion, when it was just pure existential horror. The idea of an infinite space that you are stuck in that is unpleasant.
Something about there being these monsters.
Hey Nathan,
like,
we're just about to wrap up the stream. We're just finishing off with this video.
It feel less creepy because for me and a lot of other people, what was really terrifying about the backrooms was the solidarity of it and the mystery of it, giving more explanation as to what it is and all these different places, how to survive them, giving you almond water and all that stuff. Kind of made it less scary, but it was still kind of interesting to see the evolution of this concept. There was one video that really made
any
the
backrooms, at least make it more
that video's called
Lovecraftian than just a regular
Found
monster.
footage
Yeah,
by Kane Pixel.
like just this thing, it's not scary to me. Well, I mean, it's, in my opinion, it should be it should be that you should have a monster in the back rooms should be no more, in my opinion, in my personal opinion, it should be no more than a sense of ever-present fear. But to actually see something, for something to become like a visible thing that you can run away from, or you can try to run away from at least, it kills it for me. It's the idea that there might be something in there, but you never see it. You can just feel its presence on the back of your neck and in the back of your mind. It's way scarier to me than ever actually seeing a monster. Yeah.
I'm sure everyone watching this video has already seen it, but if you haven't, it's a video that shows a VHS
geometry
tape that
homework
starts off
problem.
with some kids making an indie movie, so to say, with a monkey, and it's very silly, it's really cool, and it looks like it's actually filmed on an old camera. The description states that this takes place in 1996, which has been nailed in this video. Our cameraman walks back a little bit and then no clips into the back rooms. The CGI is phenomenal, the effects are really good, and the general atmosphere is really, really cool. Our protagonist ends up finding writings on the wall, but then, eventually, ends up getting chased by an evil creature who's trying to kill him. The design of this creature alone is pretty unnerving. Upon my first time watching it, I thought it kind of resembled the troll face a little bit, like, sort of. The protagonist then falls into that classic liminal space living room, goes up the stairs, finds that Holiday Inn hotel liminal space picture, among just a bunch of other really cool set pieces. However, the monster catches up with him, grabs him, and then the camera falls back to Earth, which is then retrieved, and this is allegedly, where we find this tape, how this all happens. So, incredible video. Super well done. Perfectly captures the backrooms. So what's the problem? Well, nothing, really. It's an incredible video, and it's clear that the creator, Kane Pixels, who was only like 17 at the time of making it, really understood what made the backrooms creepy. This video is now sitting at 43 million views. Now, since then, he's made many, many more backrooms videos.
Yeah, I've heard about this.
I've only watched a few of them. I'm not fully caught up with the lore.
Don't really watch
but a lot
that
of them
stuff.
include these yellow hazmat suit characters going in on missions through the backrooms, and that also adds lore as to how it's an experiment and all these different things. And that's great, because this, to me, exists in its own Kane Pixels Backrooms universe. His series kind of sets out to explain it and give more lore to it. I don't think there's anything inherently wrong with that. However, in my personal opinion, this series affected the Backrooms in a way that was probably not expected, because when there's something big, everyone's gonna jump on it. And this video was big. Tons of YouTubers started talking about it. Of course, MatPat was on there.
God.
All these gaming YouTubers were talking about it. People were making fan games, people were making Gmod things, people were making VR experiences, all these different things inspired specifically by this series. And rightly so, it makes sense. But the main enemy of the Backrooms really arose here, and that is children. Bear with me for a second.
Yeah. I always try and upvote
a lot of the time when something
any
makes it
posts
big on the
that I
internet,
think are good.
its child fan base will sometimes.
But also, some people, I see some
this
others
is a
do
lot
it too,
due
which is
in part
good. I'm
to
glad
the
to see
YouTubers
that.
who cover it, expose it to their young audiences, who then don't really grasp the concepts that are involved, and it ends up becoming really diluted, because then other YouTube children's content creators will make videos on this topic, with, for example, children's characters involved, or just some clickbait bullshit that kids are gonna watch, and then that's where more of their perception of whatever concept it is comes from, which then just waters it down and makes the entire thing a shell of its former self. Look, I'm sorry, to all the kids watching, you're cool, don't worry, I don't hate you, but it's just a general trend that I've seen many, many times over the internet, and it's unfortunate to see. So, Kane Pixels blows up, keeps making all these videos, and then so does everyone else. Tons of more Backrooms found footage videos were made, more and more and more expansion comes from...
Yeah. Thing is, we'll leave that there. If you want to watch the rest of it, it's linked in the Reddit here. But yeah, it's funny because he mentions that it's the later stage stuff that kind of ruins the Backrooms. Personally, for me, it was ruined well before that. I felt like adding the layers of the Backrooms stuff, while not while that didn't ruin it for me, I felt like that was a little unnecessary. Like, adding the layers of backrooms is sure interesting that you can, like, it's like a spiraling deeper into insanity kind of thing. I don't mind the layers concept. As long as all the layers are places that are weirdly familiar, but like I like the pools back area because it backrooms layer, because going to like a public pool is quite a common experience, and to have that sort of space be turned liminal is really interesting. But I personally I felt like it was unnecessary for the mythos of the backrooms. Again, for me, it was kind of ruined the moment that anyone put an actual tangible monster in the backrooms. That immediately kind of killed it for me. I much prefer the backrooms with the concept that there's just an ever-present horror that you never see. Like as you mentioned before, like a Lovecraftian, Cthulhuian kind of concept of horror, but you never actually see it. You can never truly visualize what the thing is that is making you feel fear in the backrooms. Yeah, I think it's way creepier that that it feels like you're being watched, and it feels like you're in ever-present danger, but you never actually come across anything. Yeah, I think that's way more scary. The existential horror of being in an infinite space that is, yeah, like unpleasant, yet somehow weirdly familiar, is so much more effective than anything that came afterwards. But yeah. Anyway, we'll leave that there. So there's a few things I didn't quite get to. It was like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 posts that we didn't quite get to. Because a lot of the posts were quite long. And some of them I watched a little too much of, honestly. I should have skipped some of them a little bit more, but yeah. I hope you guys enjoyed the stream. There's gonna be I've mixed up my schedule a little bit for this coming year. Well, for this coming month, for the rest of the month, and for next month. I've sort of gone for a mixture of old and new in terms of my schedule, and I'm curious to see what you guys might think of the new thing. We're probably not gonna have a part 2 this month. Nah. We'll wait till next month, because it's already halfway through the month. If I do a part 2, then we're gonna have like a third. We're gonna have 3 Reddit streams in like really quick succession. So I'm just gonna wait till next month, but it will be the start of next month. So you know the next Reddit stream will be on like the 4th, which is in 3 weeks' time. Not next week, not the week after, but the week after that. Yeah. I have 2 short videos. I was gonna say, we'll have to watch them next time. Yeah, I'm gonna get going because I did promise that I would see my nephew up in the house at lunchtime, and it's lunchtime now. So I gotta get going. Scariest thing out of any monster is the feeling of something that knows how to get to you emotionally. Right, yes. And that's the thing, it's like, in my mind, the backrooms themselves are like an entity of sorts. The space is the monster, if you will. No! Don't worry, the next Reddit stream is actually really soon. It'll be here before you know it. Eat yourself on lunch, okay? It will grow back. We'll see. Apparently something's being prepared for lunch. Something fancy and fun is being prepared for lunch today, so we'll see. But yeah, thank you guys so much for joining me. I'll catch you in the next one. There's not going to be a stream tomorrow. However, I am planning to start streaming on Sundays again. So yeah, we'll see. There may be a stream tomorrow, but I doubt it. Depends on how my meeting with my game team, my development team goes. But my plan is for not tomorrow, but next week to have 2 streams on the weekend again. I want to go back to having 2 streams on the weekends because I've missed having that sort of like, because when I stream, I get a little bit of a break from editing and stuff like that. So I want to go back to the 2 streams in the weekend, so that people, we can have like a reaction stream, but then also just a regular stream or multiplayer stream as well as a regular stream in the weekend. But also, I'm going to be doing weekday streams. If everything goes to plan, for the foreseeable future, I'll be streaming twice on the weekend and then on Wednesdays, or Tuesday nights for you guys, Wednesday mornings for me. So that's the stream structure that I have planned for the future. And then the other days of the week have videos. So, yeah, that's the plan. You need essential oils, brother. It's human meat for lunch. Oh wait, it sounds like dinner time. You'll regenerate. You won't die. But whatever the case, yeah, thank you guys so much for joining me. Thanks for everyone who posted. Unfortunately, I couldn't give out a coin, but if I somehow get access to a coin sometime before the next stream, I will grant it to whichever one I felt was best. So you may get a coin yet, if you posted something. But yeah, I hope you guys look forward to the slight changes that are coming to the channel. There's some new series starting on Monday or Sunday night for you guys. New series on the channel starting very soon. I hope you guys are excited. I hope you guys check those videos out, and I'll catch you in the next stream. Bye. See ya.